Yes.
The lead Spring Army sends its regards.
Hello, everyone. I'm the Enforcer, and I'm accompanied by Enforcer Matt.
And good evening, folks. It's Enforcer Matt, and welcome back to day 1531 of the War News stream. And we have very big news. As y'all might tell, we are on super early today, still drinking coffee, and we are seeing right now that there's a major situation happening at this very moment. The war is basically restarted as of this hour. So we're seeing Iran launch missiles at US warships in the Strait of Hormuz. That's happening just about an hour ago. We've also seen that the Gulf states are currently under attack by RGC forces. We're hearing missile explosions in Abu Dhabi and in the UAE as well. And we're also seeing that several cargo ships are on fire in the Persian Gulf. And right now, it's a bit of a crazy situation. So we're trying to follow it live, but it's a major breaking news. And it's good to see you all once again.
And of course, we're going to be covering this breaking news stream at this moment right now, as we have had breaking news emerge from the Middle East over the past few hours that the Islamic Republic of Iran has begun full-blown attacks against the United States Navy's blockade near to the entrance of the Gulf of Oman. And we've gotten additional reports that several commercial vessels have been hit and heavily damaged within the area of the Strait of Hormuz. At this moment right now, the Islamic Republic of Iran is launching significant rocket and missile attacks against the United Arab Emirates, striking hits inside of the port of Fujairah and causing a major fire at the oil facility on the eastern coast of the United Arab Emirates. Meanwhile, the United Arab Emirates has already announced that they have a right to respond and are possibly preparing a military strike package against the Islamic Republic of Iran as we speak at this moment. The State of Israel has also pledged that they will be conducting military action against the Islamic Republic of Iran due to their unsolicited and illegal acts of aggression against the United Arab Emirates and the United States Navy over the course of this morning. The Islamic Republic of Iran has also confirmed that they have fired anti-ship missiles at the United States Navy's forces near to the area of the Iranian coastline and the Gulf of Oman, and have pledged that they will continue to conduct this action until they break the U.S. blockade. Currently, the U.S. CENTCOM commander, Admiral Brad Cooper, has confirmed that the United States Navy has come under fire by Iranian anti-ship missiles and is stating that while it is unclear whether the ceasefire has finally been broken, the United States Navy will be engaging any forces that are already firing upon them. And reports have already emerged that around 6 IRGC fast attack boats have possibly been hit and destroyed within the area of the Strait of Hormuz. Outside of that, there's been some more murky information that has surrounded the Strait of Hormuz this morning, as there has been an unverified claim that 2 U.S. merchant ships flagged out of the United States of America have somehow been able to transit the Strait of Hormuz this morning, and CENTCOM is also stating that they have somehow demined a passage through the minefield in the Strait of Hormuz, although we do not have enough proof or corroboration of that fact at this moment, and we're still trying to see whether that is an actual claim that is verified or not. Still, the situation is evolving rapidly as we speak, and we are currently watching breaking news developing on air right now, and we're also going to be guiding you all through the past few hours, quite instrumental hours, and how the rest of this week is going to be unfolding, as this most likely will be returning the United States and Iran back into a full-blown war, going to blows with each other around this area. But before we move on into what's happened over the past few hours, we have breaking news coming out at this moment. Matthew, what do we got?
Okay, so right now we're seeing that the UAE is currently under an active attack right now. Like I mentioned just a moment ago, Abu Dhabi has been experiencing some form of explosions, and this is apparently the second attack of the morning by Iran on the UAE. And right now we're seeing a NOTAM over pretty much the entirety of the United Arab Emirates for the most part. It looks like there's a NOTAM over the entire area, and we are seeing some flights being redirected from that country, and it looks like they're going to different airports. Also, the UAE just did this 4 minutes ago. They just implemented nationwide distance learning for the students in the country from May the 5th through the 8th. So it appears to be they're expecting attacks to continue over the next few days at least. And also, we are hearing that Kuwait has now issued a high alert warning in their country, expecting attacks to start very soon on their country. So that's pretty serious as well. But right now, we're tracking multiple missile attacks going on right now at this hour. But that is the breaking news as of right this second.
And a huge thanks to Enforcer Matt for sharing that breaking news with us. And we will be, of course, covering the prior stories that have already happened over the past few hours as breaking news continues to emerge from the region. To give a recap to everyone who is joining right now, as it is very early on in the stream, and I want people to get a good idea of what's actually going on right now in real time. Right now in real time, we understand that there are some anti-ship actions that are being taken by the Iranians against the United States Navy. And we also have been able to hear additionally that there is possibly some sort of a battle or a smaller attacks going on within the Strait of Hormuz against merchant ships or possibly U.S. warships that are somehow within the area. We also know that there are ongoing missile attacks against the United Arab Emirates at this moment right now. We are still trying to gather information and break it to you all live over those 3 stories that are happening in real time as we are live on air, but we're also going to be covering all of the major news that has come out in just a few hours before this, as there are significant developments that are crucial to what's happening right now that have happened over just the past few hours. Moving us on and immediately into the most important news of the past few hours, we actually have more breaking news coming out at this moment. Matthew, what do we got?
Okay, so right now we've just gotten word from Israeli sources right now that apparently Israeli security officials say that the situation with Iran could deteriorate rapidly, even within a matter of hours. So that's what Israel's saying. According to what I've heard so far, the Israelis are simply waiting on the green light from the U.S. officials to launch counterattacks on Iran, at least right now. And it sounds like the U.S. is not giving that green light. So we'll go over the post here in just a second from the U.S. president. But, I mean, obviously, this is an active war by Iran. Iran has once again resumed attacking U.S. warships. They are now attacking the UAE, and they're also going to be attacking probably the rest of the Gulf states very soon. But we've seen a very strange, kind of disjointed response from U.S. officials, and I think Israel is chomping at the bits to go attack Iran, but the U.S. is not so eager to get back to it, it looks like. So we're trying to see what they're going to do about that. But Israel wants to go, and right now they're waiting on the green light.
And it certainly does appear that Israel is ready to go back to war. They've been ready to go back to war ever since the shooting ended several weeks ago. But to give you all an understanding or an idea of how confused the U.S. position currently is at the moment, the President of the United States said in an interview this morning that if the Iranians fired upon a U.S. warship, it was going to be the end of the world for them and that we were going to level their entire country. And that was said minutes after a U.S. warship had already been targeted and attacked by anti-ship missile attacks by the Islamic Republic of Iran, meaning that the statement was saying if it happens, and it already had happened by the time that statement was made. And we've seen that since then, the U.S. government hasn't really appeared to be that unified or at least organized or understanding what path they would be taking in response to the Iranian attacks that are happening right now. We're still waiting to see some form of an official response outside of U.S. Central Command, which is directly dealing with the situation, to be able to understand where the U.S. is going to be going with this larger situation that's currently developing right now. But getting us on into the stories that we have been able to hear just hours before that have led us into where we are right now, and to let y'all know what exactly is going on in the current breaking news stories that we're seeing, the Islamic Republic of Iran did announce that they hit a U.S. patrol boat earlier in the morning. And once again, I want to say that this is an Iranian claim, and the Iranians claim everything under the sun whenever they start shooting at anyone. So they may have not hit anything, but this was the statement by the Islamic Republic of Iran's Fars news agency earlier in the morning. 2 missiles hit an American patrol boat following disregard of Iran's warning. According to their statements, they state that the American patrol boat was unable to continue its route due to the hits and was forced to retreat and flee the area. We have not gotten any reports or confirmation in this moment that a U.S. warship has been hit. We've been able to see that at the moment they have fired upon U.S. warships, and that has been confirmed by CENTCOM's area of responsibility, but we have seen no general distress calls being given by a U.S. patrol vessel, and not only that, we don't know of any patrol-type vessels that would be within the area. Most U.S. warships that are near to the entrance of the Gulf of Oman right now are Arleigh Burke guided missile destroyers, which certainly do not fall under the realm of a patrol boat. Those are destroyers, which is an entirely different classification of ship. We also have some littoral combat ships in the area, but once again, those are not patrol ships, so we don't know what the hell the Iranians are even talking about at the moment that they hit. They might have blown up one of their own boats on accident and thought that it was an American one, considering that it apparently matched the description of a smaller patrol vessel. We did get to see, however, that they did show footage of them firing anti-ship missiles at the United States Navy, including in this clip here where the larger surrounding was heavily censored, but we did get to see the anti-ship missiles being fired at the United States Navy earlier this morning. You know, see
those are exposed. All of those missile launchers are exposed from the looks of it. They're just sitting on the top of the land, just right, looks like right off the coast right there. So that's a little bit fascinating because I thought the U.S. had taken out all their TL launchers on the coast, is what we were told before, but that looks like it's on the coast, and they're launching into the strait.
Well, they took out all the TEL launchers for Iran's conventional ballistic and cruise missiles that were firing at our allies, but we never really targeted or hit, from what we know, a large amount of the anti-ship missile transport-erector launchers that were based near to the coastline, which is also why I've been saying for weeks that it is as simple as goading them into opening fire, because they have to come out into the open, like we're seeing in those clips right there, and then destroying them while they're preparing to fire. Most of these anti-ship missile transport-erector launchers, like those we just saw in these clips, including this one right here, are actually mobile and have to set up in the wide open to be able to fire their anti-ship missiles. The thing about this, though, that a lot of people have confused, and I've tried to make clear through multiple weeks and really a couple of months about talking on this, is that while these missile launchers do have to go into the wide open to fire, which is where they're vulnerable and can easily be hit and destroyed, we understand that once they fire, they retreat into some sort of a hardened shelter, some sort of a tunnel complex or whatnot, so that way they can then rearm their anti-ship missiles and then go back out into the open once they're ready to a pre-designated firing position, fire another volley of anti-ship missiles, and then they all go racing back to the shelter of a tunnel. Meaning that for the brief moment that a lot of these anti-ship missile systems are attempting to target and fire at U.S. warships, they would be exposed and in the wide open to U.S. attacks for the larger part, and only a few facilities actually fall under the criteria of being a hardened coastal defense battery that is fixed in position and would be hard to destroy by guided ordnance or some form of a bunker buster. Very few of them fall under that description. Most of them are actually mobile anti-ship launchers like these right here that actually have to move into the wide open and into vulnerability to be able to try and launch their strikes against U.S. vessels.
Interesting.
But moving us on from that clip right there, we also got additional clips showing more launches by the Islamic Republic of Iran against U.S. forces, including this one right here, which appears to be some form of a MLRS. We're not entirely sure how in the world that one falls into the category of firing at a U.S. vessel. Usually those are used for larger grid saturation artillery barrages of ground forces, so we don't really know what was going on with that one, but we can confirm by this footage and generally the Iranian reports that they had tried to fire at a U.S. ship, but we can't confirm whether they hit one or not. In the meantime, however, we did get confirmation that anti-ship missiles were in fact used to be able to try and target commercial and U.S. military vessels over just the past few hours, quite literally over just the last hour. We also were able to hear that the CENTCOM commander, Admiral Brad Cooper, did confirm in a call with reporters that the Islamic Republic of Iran has opened fire on U.S. warships and commercial vessels today, but declined to say whether the ceasefire between the U.S. and Iran is over. U.S. forces did return fire, as our current rules of engagement are to not fire unless being fired upon, and to only fire the absolute amount of munitions necessary to deal with, turn away, or destroy the threat that is being posed to U.S. forces and vessels within the area. And there was also a report by the CENTCOM commander that several Iranian small boats were destroyed, and we've heard that that's been to the tune of about 6 fast attack boats, which may have been destroyed at some point today near to the Strait of Hormuz or along the coastline of Iran within the Gulf of Oman. We also were able to hear once again that the Iranians had targeted U.S. warships within the area, and were believing that they were most likely attempting to launch attacks against the Early Bird guided missile destroyers that are currently attempting to conduct the ongoing blockade around the entrance and exit of the Gulf of Oman. This gives us the larger picture of what happened just a couple of hours ago that has led to the firestorm that is now occurring within the area of the Strait of Hormuz and also over the United Arab Emirates at this moment right now. Not long after the reports came out that U.S. warships were under fire near to the entrance of the Gulf of Oman, additional reports came out showing that several vessels had been targeted and hit, merchant ships that is, around the area of the Strait of Hormuz. Currently, we have been able to hear information that a South Korean vessel was reportedly targeted by Iranian forces near the Strait of Hormuz, but no casualties were reported on ship. We also were able to hear another piece of information that another ship was burning and on fire off of the coast of the United Arab Emirates, with footage right here showing what appears to be a direct impact on a container ship possibly near to the front of the vessel, and it appears that the fire was raging within the containers or somewhere around that area of the ship.
So take this piece of footage right here with a grain of salt. I saw this earlier, but the odds of this being possibly a recycled video that's maybe accidentally being reposted as a new one is very high on that one. I saw it, but I didn't repost it earlier for that exact reason. So take that one with a grain of salt.
Got you. And so we will be taking that one with a grain of salt. But we did get a UK MTO report giving us the following information. UK MTO has received a report of an incident 36 nautical miles north of Dubai in the United Arab Emirates. The cargo vessel reported a fire in the engine room. The cause of the fire is unknown at this time, but all crew are safe and accounted for, and authorities are investigating. We also got additional information closer to the Strait of Hormuz that the Iranians have now declared a new control zone for their blockade. These red lines here, denoted on the map, are now the new area that the Iranians are claiming that they have direct control over. And the Iranians are now claiming that any ships that are found within the barrier line inside of the Strait of Hormuz, meaning north of these lines, will be targeted and fired upon by Iranian forces, and they will not be allowing any vessels of any type to be within this area. This is already going to be causing some issues, as there are large anchorages just off of the coast near Khor Fakkan and also within the middle of this area as well, which are currently sitting and waiting transit. And you can also see that already a large amount of ships are packing up and moving further west, deeper into the Persian Gulf at this moment right now, after the attacks that the Iranians already caused on some ships that were sitting within this anchorage in the morning during the opening attacks by the Iranians. We actually have more breaking news coming out at this moment right now. And Matthew, what do we got?
Okay, so we have some breaking news right now from a mainstream news reporter, it looks like. They're saying that the commander of CENTCOM is saying that more commercial ships are apparently en route to travel across the Strait of Hormuz after allegedly 2 U.S.-flagged vessels successfully went out of the strait. But I will say this, folks. Now, I don't want to put a dampener on the whole thing, but we have not seen transponder data yet to show that 2 of those vessels have gotten through the strait. So it's very possible they're telling the truth about that, but we'd prefer to see the proof of it before we just simply take, anecdotal evidence as fact. But we are seeing here as well that apparently the reporter asked how many ships had been hit by Iran in the Strait of Hormuz, but the commander declined to give a number and said, don't tell the enemy you know what they've been able to achieve. So we don't know how many ships have been hit in Hormuz. It sounds like a good number might have been hit, but the military is keeping that secret right now. So that's a bit concerning to say the least. We did see that South Korean vessel got hit. That one was hit in the Strait of Hormuz. And now it appears like there's more, but the military is trying to basically cover it up to a large degree. So just a very odd circumstance. Also, by the way, the fog in this situation is unbelievable. The amount of fog of war in this situation. The military's covering stuff up. Iran's lying. You got the transponder data not very reliable right now. It's just a free-for-all guessing what's happened at this point.
Man, what a goofy statement. You don't want to let the enemy know what we know. Meanwhile, every ship that's been hit is putting out a public distress signal right now. And also on top of that, the area is so small, the Iranians can literally whip out a pair of field binoculars and literally look into the strait at the ships they hit because it's such a small area. They have a field of view of the entire thing. It's like that statement doesn't really stand up too well.
Yeah, and also apparently the U.S. warships went through the Strait of Hormuz earlier today, but then after they went through, they simply started calling the companies, the shipping companies, up on the phone and saying, "Hey, look, guys, we just went through. Send your ships through." So some of the commercial shipping companies sent their ships through, and then they got hit by the Iranians. That's where some of these missile attacks came from. So apparently, it's just hopes and wishes. That's what the military is sending out, and that's what the U.S. administration is sending out to these companies. They're basically saying, "Look, we went through. You go through next." Here's the difference, though. A cargo ship's not armed with weapons. The U.S. warships were armed with weapons, so that's a big difference. When Iran fires missiles at our warship, they can shoot them down. When a missile's fired at a cargo ship, you can't. I mean, they get hit, and that's the end of it. So, hopes and dreams don't really work when it comes to cargo ships.
Do we actually know if U.S. warships made it through the Strait of Hormuz today?
We can't independently verify anything. We're taking CENTCOM's word for it.
Because there's some issues with that, folks, because I was doing a little bit of research after the stream last night on the minefields that exist in the Strait of Hormuz. And I once again want to remind everyone here, just for a minute, that it was just 2 days ago that we watched a giant Iranian fast attack boat swarm of about 80 boats go back into the Strait of Hormuz and lay probably about another 80 to 160 mines in one fell swoop over the entirety of the area of the minefield. The U.S. is claiming that the area has been demined and there's now a little shipping lane through the middle of the minefield. The problem with that is that somehow the U.S. would have had to have been able to go into the minefield within the last 48 hours and completely clear out about a 50 nautical mile stretch, probably a nautical mile or 2 nautical miles wide, to be able to say that we've cleared out a shipping lane within the Strait of Hormuz. And that amount of time, considering that the Department of Defense has already briefed the Congress that it would take 6 months to clear out the entire minefield, the idea of clearing out a single one-way shipping lane through the Strait of Hormuz in just 48 hours seems to be a little bit unrealistic to me. And the other issue is, folks, is that I did look into this as well, as many people have been talking about anti-mine countermeasures by U.S. warships. The U.S. warships in the modern day do have some form of degaussing capabilities and technology on board, which demagnetizes the hull so that way magnetic mines don't stick to them. But modern Iranian mines are magnetic and acoustic, meaning that they can listen to the propeller profiles and the sounds of them in the water and start to float towards the sound of a propeller shaft that is vibrating nearby and then cling onto the hull and then explode either instantaneously or later depending on the timing of the fuse. So that means that U.S. warships would not be able to go through the Strait of Hormuz at full speed because while the mines might not be able to magnetically detect the vessels, they would be able to detect them acoustically, meaning that they would still be able to target them. Either that or the screws of the vessel, which are the propellers, would have to be spinning at such a slow rotation that they're not causing cavitation or any acoustic profile, which would then lead to the vessel moving at an incredibly slow rate of speed and taking an incredibly long time to be able to make it through the Strait of Hormuz or the minefield. So I'm not saying that CENTCOM is lying, but I'm saying that this story requires a little bit more information for us to independently verify, because there's a lot of gaps in the story right now that we really can't account for as to how U.S. warships made it to the other side of the strait and then back. Because the way CENTCOM keeps reporting it, they keep reporting it as if there is no issue to be able to pass through the strait. And if that's the case, why aren't they following out the merchant ships that they're telling to go into the gauntlet and just defend them, since it's so easy to
Yeah.
keep passing in and out every day?
Yeah, and that's a big problem. I mean, on its face, it seems a little bit sketchy because if the U.S. warships actually went through the Strait of Hormuz and then the Iranians fired missiles at the ships and then they were able to somehow defend the U.S. warships with, anti-missile defenses, I mean, that doesn't look good for the commercial ships because, I mean, they're going to have to come up behind the warships and they're obviously going to get fired at. If the Iranians were firing at the warships, and they're definitely going to fire at the commercial vessels. So, I mean, that's problematic on its face.
Yeah, I would have to say. Also, another thing is with how small this area is. Say that these ships are going through the toll booth and they're just south of Larak. If an Arleigh Burke was sitting right where this marker is, they would be only 30 miles away from that ship, and that ship would then be about 30 miles away from an Iranian anti-ship battery or any sort of threat that would be firing at them. A U.S. warship would easily be able to detect that incoming threat on an air search radar or a surface search radar, depending on the type of threat, and engage and destroy it before it was able to hit that ship. That's why I'm saying that it's highly unlikely, folks, that U.S. warships just waltzed right through the strait today into the Persian Gulf and are just hanging out there right now, because nothing about the story afterwards, or even the story of how they got there, is adding up, and nothing about them being there right now is adding up either, because if they're there, why are they sitting aside and just watching merchant ships that they're telling to sail into the strait get blown up without attempting to even defend them? That just doesn't really add up and make any sense.
Yeah, it's a little bit problematic with the story right there. Also, one side note, by the way, we saw two different versions of a story come out earlier, and it seems like there's a little bit of a discrepancy. It may be nothing, but just to point this out, the U.S. president said in a Truth Social post that we'll get to here shortly that 7 of the apparently fast attack boats, excuse me, were destroyed. That's what he said in a Truth Social post. But then the CENTCOM commander said 6 of them were destroyed. So they really don't have their numbers straight. So I'm not sure if maybe that's just a glitch, maybe it's an error and they typed the wrong number or something, or their story doesn't match up, one or the other. But I caught that early and I was thinking, that's kind of weird. Why would they say 7 and then the other guy said 6? It seems like they would have the number straight, but apparently they don't.
Yeah, it does appear that that's a little interesting as well. We also were able to see the myriad of UKMTO reports that came out here as well. And just to list off the 3 incidents that we know of right now, one of them directly west of Dubai, one of them more towards the area of, I believe it's called Ras Al Khaimah, which you can see right here. And we also have another report that was just directly north of the Omani coast near Kuzmar. Here are the 3 reports that we've had as of late, starting with the first and then moving our way on down to the bottom. The UKMTO received a report of an incident 78 nautical miles north of Fujairah, United Arab Emirates. The tanker reported being hit by unknown projectiles. The second report was that the UKMTO has received a report of an incident 36 nautical miles north of Dubai in the United Arab Emirates. The cargo vessel reported a fire in the engine room. The cause of the fire is unknown. And then the last report was the UKMTO has received a report of an incident 14 nautical miles west of Mira Sakir, the United Arab Emirates. UKMTO received information from a third party that a vessel was on fire and requesting vessels in the vicinity to keep a safe distance from them. The cause of fire has not been verified at this time. We're largely believing that the 2 incidents that have not been verified are most likely direct hits on the vessel by Iranian forces, but we're still waiting for confirmation on that one at the moment. It also appears that according to some information that CENTCOM was able to release to Insider Paper, CENTCOM is reporting that they actually blew up the 6 small fast attack boats in the Strait of Hormuz using AH-64 Apaches and H-60 Seahawk helicopters, most likely using the AGM-114 Hellfire. Once again, lining up with my exact analysis that could easily be done and used to blow up the boats without posing any threat to the helicopters. But we actually have breaking news coming out at this moment right now. And Matthew, what do we got?
Okay, so go to Flight Radar 24 real quick and go check out what's happening right now near the UAE. It looks like there's about 16 U.S. Air Force tankers active in that area, which is a hell of a lot, by the way. Let's see if we can get that military filter.
Yeah,
that's a
lot
lot right there. Look at that. That's a ton. That's actually more than we saw during Operation Epic Fury, like when they were launching, missile attacks with fighter jets on Iran. This is a hell of a lot of tankers around the area. It's believed that some of these tankers are supporting helicopter operations in in the Persian Gulf, because apparently that's what's taking out the fast attack boats. There's apparently some helicopters hanging out in there, and I'll tell you all the model of helicopter. It's apparently the Apaches and SH-60 Seahawk helicopters that are currently operating over the Persian Gulf, and they're taking out the fast attack boats that Iran keeps sending out. So far, only 6 of them have been taken out, or 7, depending on who you believe, and that's what the situation is. So that appears to be what they're supporting, but this is a lot of aircraft right here. This might be supporting more than just helicopters. It could be maybe something else. Also, enforcers saying they can't refuel those type, so they can't actually service helicopters at all, you're saying?
No, it's just that those specific variants of helicopters don't have any aerial refueling capabilities. They don't have an aerial
Interesting.
refueling boom. So these are for fixed wing operations of some sort.
Interesting. So that takes away that analysis completely then. So in that case, then maybe they're planning on possibly sending fighter jets into Iran soon. Maybe they're supporting fighter jet operations, perhaps. But that's a hell of a lot. I mean, that's a lot right there. It's more than we saw previously during the attacks.
Yeah, it's a huge number. The issue right now with that analysis is that an AH-64 Apache, neither the SH-60 Seahawk have any form of aerial refueling booms like you would see on some other specialized variants of helicopters like the CH-47G. And just to show y'all here the difference and explain why these can't be used for helicopters, the CH-47G is specially outfitted with that large boom at the front of the helicopter that actually has a refueling probe built into it. And this allows it to refuel from slower aerial tankers like C-130 variants that are actually able to extend the range of the helicopter and allow it to stay in air for a longer duration of time or cover a greater range. The AH-64 Apaches are not built, as I know, of any variant with any form of an aerial refueling boom, and neither is the SH-60. This means that these Apaches are most likely operating from some point-based location inside the United Arab Emirates, where they're taking off from an Army helipad and then moving on towards the Strait of Hormuz, firing off their Hellfires, loitering within the area, and then returning back to the field to be able to refuel, rearm, possibly exchange crews, and then send the helicopter back out there to be able to continue operations. The Seahawks are most likely being launched from some U.S. naval vessel within the area, and that does appear to be some information that we're getting at this time. Also, Matthew, you're saying a Seahawk can be which variant, though?
It's I think they're saying, let me go back and grab it real quick. I had it pulled up, but I deleted it. Let's see here. So apparently it's the MH-60 Seahawk that can be refueled in air, apparently, during flight.
Let's see. I believe that's a Jayhawk. I don't think like a Seahawk can do that. Let me see here. Yeah, so this would be like a Coast Guard helicopter, apparently, from what I'm able to pull
They're
up here.
showing on the site I'm looking at that it's showing a military helicopter. So I mean, it's a 50-50 chance that the Seahawk can be refueled. But I mean, even
you mean
if putting
the
this whole issue. Yeah, well, putting that whole issue aside right there, even if these helicopters are being refueled, that would not explain the massive refueler presence we're seeing right now, because there's not that many Seahawks in the sky to warrant this many refueling aircraft running around. This is probably something else, I'd imagine, probably supporting fixed wing. I see some people saying recon drones. That could be part of it as well, or it could be fighter jets in the area, because I would imagine that the UAE and the Gulf states, they probably want some assistance because they're getting hit with missiles, and they probably want some in-air help to shoot these things down. So it could be fighter jets for air defense support.
It most likely is fighter jets. That's generally what these sorts of aerial tankers would be able to assist with. And if we can see that if any of them are in an orbit, actively in an orbit right now, which I'm trying to check on right now, it looks like this one's in an orbit at a speed of 310 knots at an altitude of 22,000 feet. And if this thing is in a continued orbit, it's most likely refueling aircraft at this moment right now. And that means that now it appears that its ground speed is fluctuating heavily between 340 to 150 knots. If we were to spitball that somewhere in the middle, that would be about 250. And that would be about the speed needed to refuel any form of a fixed wing combat aircraft. And also helicopters wouldn't be able to travel at that speed and altitude. So incredibly large number of fixed wing aircraft are currently within the area. They may be a multitude of airframes, including the F-35s, the F-22s, the F-15s, the F-16s, or the F-18s, which are all present and operational within the area. And any one or any number of these different forms of airframes could be in the skies right now, preparing some form of an air defense perimeter around the area and attempting to bolster and support the United Arab Emirates air defenses on the ground, which are currently attempting to shoot down further incoming Iranian attacks at this moment right now. A lot of people are actually talking at this very moment about the situation situation with the U.S. warships and the attacks that were conducted just about 2 hours ago at this point on them by the Islamic Republic of Iran's guided anti-ship missile forces. And Matthew, what are people thinking about this right now, and what are you thinking about it as well?
Okay, so here's the question in a poll that we asked the audience. We said U.S. warships were targeted by Iranian cruise missiles hours ago, and that is confirmed, by the way. That's not just a rumor. That's actually being confirmed by the military. Iran did fire missiles at our ships, and the damage is unknown. I believe CENTCOM is saying that they successfully defended against it, but some people are calling that into question. Right now, we have not gotten any more information about it, and we're simply relying on the CENTCOM information that they're putting out officially to go off of right now. So what are your thoughts? 59% said the warships probably defended themselves just fine. They probably did not take a hit. 20% said the warships were probably damaged, and 13% said it's a 50-50 chance of either. So I would say that the warships are probably fine. These were missiles that were fired at the ships, and they are able to defend against missiles pretty well. That's not an issue. The problem that the warships are going to run into is defending against drones. Those are sea drones, aerial drones, etc. That's where there's a gap. But we have not heard of Iran firing those weapons at the ships yet. So I would say I'm with the 59%. The warships probably are fine, and missiles, that's something well within their range of being able to handle. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would say they're most likely able to easily handle them and shoot them down. We do know that the Iranians have a variety of anti-ship missiles that they can use, but most of them are incredibly similar in capability to the Abu Mahdi design of cruise missile or anti-ship missile, which we can see right here. Most anti-ship missiles in the modern day are fairly analogous in their design and operation, and most, if not all of them, are going to be subsonic, meaning that they're traveling at a top speed of around 670 to 700 miles an hour. Most U.S. warships have been purpose-built and designed over the decades to be able to deal with a specific type of threat, as it was the primary threat for the U.S. Navy during the missile age and also during the modern drone age. This is still the main threat that U.S. warships have been designed to deal with. This means that while the Iranians have fired anti-ship missiles at the United States Navy is most likely able to thwart these attacks and shoot down the incoming anti-ship missiles before they even get to the second or last air defense perimeter of the warship, meaning that they were most likely intercepted a good ways out. That is, however, entirely reliant on the fact of how close the U.S. warship was to the point of firing along the Iranian coastline. In my current assumptions right now, I'm assuming that the U.S. warships were somewhere around their staging area, which we were able to confirm some time ago, which would be just off the coast of Oman within this area. If an anti-ship missile was fired at a warship within that area, that is a travel distance of 160 miles, meaning that they would actually be able to intercept that anti-ship missile and shoot it down well in the first line of defense with their long-range air defense missiles like the SM-2 or the SM-3. They may have had to shoot it down with their medium-range air defense systems on board the ship, although that's highly unlikely considering that most times these days interceptions are successful within the first air defense perimeter of the vessel, which uses the longest range version of their air defenses. So we're generally assuming that they would have been shot down, but if the vessel was a lot closer to the coast, there is a possibility or an increasing percentage likelihood that the vessel may have actually taken at least one or two direct hits by Iranian anti-ship missile batteries on shore, because once again, to remind everyone, the closer that a ship is to the incoming threat, the less amount of time that they have to react, the less layers of air defense they have to be able to successfully shoot down the incoming missile, and that also increases the percentage likelihood that the ship could be hit and damaged or destroyed by an anti-ship missile or other form of ordnance. So generally at the moment, taking the assumptions that I have right now, I'm assuming that they shot down the anti-ship missiles fine. But once again, we're trying to get more information on that scenario to be able to see how far away the U.S. warship was, how many missiles were fired, and what the air defense scenario looked like if we ever get that information. But moving us on out of that report and that poll right there, we've also been able to get some more significant news out of the United Arab Emirates at this moment, which is still an ongoing significant development that we're trying to make sure that we cover and keep updated on air as much as we often can. Within the area of the United Arab Emirates, several attacks have occurred, and the United Arab Emirates has now declared a NOTAM, or a notice to airmen, over the entirety of the northern area of the United Arab Emirates, including Abu Dhabi and Dubai, as Iranian missiles are beginning to fly into the area in increasingly large numbers. And this is causing quite a dangerous situation for commercial airliners which may be airborne and operational in the area. If we take a look at all the passenger aircraft that are here right now, We can see that flights are continuing out of Abu Dhabi and Dubai, but it also appears that there has been some holds, or they're trying to rush the landings and takeoffs to be able to try and clear out the airspace as quickly as they can. We also understand that there has been several missile alerts that have been issued over the course of the past few hours, including this one here. This was the first missile threat of the day, and the United Arab Emirates government did request all civilians to seek a safe location to be able to try and wait out the incoming missile attack. A second one was also issued as well, just a little bit after that, confirming that several waves of Iranian missiles are coming in and attempting to hit the country. We have also been able to hear that the United Arab Emirates government has announced that they have a right to respond, and this statement here does confirm that the UAE is reserving the full and legitimate right to respond to Iranian missile and drone attacks over the course of this day, possibly suggesting that the United Arab Emirates may commence military operations against the Islamic Republic of Iran for their unsolicited attacks against the United Arab Emirates over the course of this day. We have also been able to hear additional information of incoming UAE missile threats once more, with video and picture evidence showing over the area of Dubai that missile interceptors, most likely Patriots, were being fired over the city of Dubai to be able to intercept and shoot down the incoming Iranian ballistic missiles that were being fired at this time just earlier today. We also were able to see that some of these missiles, unfortunately, that were fired by Iran did make their marks and hit within the port of Al Fujairah on the east coast of the UAE, with this first picture here confirming just minutes after the first hit that the port of Fujairah had been hit, and the picture evidence that came out only about 40 minutes to an hour later showed that it had already started to turn into a kindling fire within the oil facility, and is most likely expanding in veracity and also intensity over the minutes that are following right now on air, as this fire is attempting to be controlled, is being attempted to be controlled by UAE firefighting forces on the ground, but fires like these are usually quite difficult to control and usually burn until they run out of combustible materials, which would be the oil resources held within the port facility. So it does appear that we are getting that information at this moment right now out of the whole of the United Arab Emirates. Meanwhile, within the area of the Strait of Hormuz, we've also been able to hear of other developments over the course of this day that have been issued by CENTCOM Area of Responsibility, the Islamic Republic of Iran, and also the U.S. government at large. According to
Also, before we move into that, by the way, we do have a video showing that fire in Fujairah. I'm not sure if you had that one. I don't think you did. There's a video here. I just put it on the likes tab right now, and you can see just how large the fire is. And also, we just got the NASA firm satellite, the fire satellite information, showing how large it is. It's a very large fire. Like, this was a pretty serious hit at Fujairah, the UAE.
You said you put it on the likes tab?
Yeah, it's on the likes tab.
I'm not seeing it at the moment. It might be taking a minute to be able to update that. So let me see if I can. It's not showing up for me, unfortunately. So I'm going to just press onwards for now until it eventually shows.
Scroll down the Twitter page to Ocean Warfare's post. You'll see the video on the Twitter page.
Got you. So let me see if I can go find that. Let's see, Ocean Warfare. Trying to look for that here really quickly, folks. And here we are. So here it is. So let me show you all this clip right here. When you see the sailors walking up to the front of the vessel and watching as the fire continues to grow in Fujairah port. We can also hear some sort of high-pitched squealing.
That's a huge fire right there. Also, by the way, notice this is being filmed from what appears to be a vessel, is my guess. It looks like they're on a vessel filming this, and they sound like, I can't tell what language they're speaking, Thai or something. I can't really tell right off the bat, but the UAE right now is threatening to arrest anybody that films any type of damage in their country, and they'll send you straight to prison for doing that. So that's why we're not seeing too many videos come out from the ground in the UAE, is because of that exact reason.
And that is an interesting point to note. We actually don't have a good damage assessment in the UAE at the moment because it is illegal to upload any footage that shows that they've been taking damage or hits.
Also, we do have the NASA firm satellite information at the very top of the Twitter page. You can show people just how large the fire is. It's basically showing us what we have in the video, but just to show you the extent of it.
And there's the extent of the fire damage right there. It does appear to be largely within the northern area of the facility. So let me quickly get you all here to Fujairah and show you all this facility and what appears to be on fire within it at the moment. So this is the larger area of the Fujairah oil facilities, and we can see that in the satellite photography right here, it appears that this is somewhere within this area, right up here, actually. It's around this area. So if I take a look at this again, this actually doesn't appear to be on an oil facility. Interestingly enough, this looks like it may be around the area of the Fujairah power plant.
Uh, I think this is the oil, man, because I don't think the power plant's gonna burn quite like that.
Well, I mean, it might be an oil fire plant, and it's hit the oil tanks to fuel the boilers within the power plant. That's like maybe, I don't know, because right here it shows that there is a power plant right here, and it looks like to be some sort of a combined gas cycle power plant. And if it's fueled by gas or oil, they would have to store it somewhere, and these tanks would probably be where that would be. Because this entire facility at the moment looks to be some sort of a power station, and these tanks may be storing the fuel need to power the boilers to be able to produce the heat, to boil the water and the steam, to spin the turbines to produce electricity on the grid. Because the large oil facility at the actual port, it's down here, and the oil loading ports and whatnot are also here as well. There is nothing like that around this area for a ship to even be able to load up oil from.
Yeah, well, the all the posters saying that's the Fujairah Oil Industry Zone, the FOIZ. So I'm not sure if that part there with the electrical plant is encompassed within that or not. It might be the whole area, including the electrical spot, is maybe considered that FOIZ. But it could be also multiple hits as well. Like the satellite there with the fire data is showing us one part of it, but there could be another. Because from the video that we just looked at, I mean, that fire is literally right on the water. Basically, it's right there at the very edge of it.
Let's see if we can look at that footage again here really quickly and see what we can tell as a landmark, because geolocating this would be a little bit important in the moment, because we don't know exactly what's going on here, because firms is showing that it looks to be a fire near to a power plant. This doesn't look like the area of a power plant. It almost looks like there's some sort of a loading crane right there off to the left of frame. So there might be several fires that are across the area, because the firm satellite seems to insistently show that the fire is within the confine of a power plant. And it does.
I think it's just multiple hits. I think it's just multiple of them. It could be they've hit multiple spots on it because we saw several missiles come in earlier that was coming into this location right here. So it's probably just multiple hits, and they probably just aren't showing the spot where the fire is happening in that video.
It could be, actually. That might be the case. So we'll have to see if firms updates, but it does appear that there is some sort of a larger fire on the area of a power plant just north of the area of Fujairah right here. Because if we look at that fire and where it's centered at, it looks like it might be on this outer tank on the northeast side of the facility, and generally actually within the power plant area itself of the gas power plant within this area. Let me see here really quickly if we can look at something. Let me see. Okay, so there's a street view here. Maybe we can find something out for this one. Yeah, so this is actually, if this fire is a confirmed one, which it is because of firms, these tanks are actually here to supply fuel to the power plant, which is right over here across the street. Because these tanks here actually say the Fujairah, let's see, Asia Power Company. So these are actually here to store fuel for the power plant. So it looks like Iran might be attempting to attack critical infrastructure, not just economic infrastructure within the UAE, and is trying to now knock out power plants inside the country, along with attacking the oil port just a little bit further south in Fujairah port itself.
Yeah, and also I did get some clarification on this. We were looking at one part of the firm's data, and there's apparently more fires on firms. I just reposted another one right here. So we are seeing that there is that fire being detected right off the port. Like we see that little splotch right there. It should be popping up here in a second, unless Twitter's having problems. See if it reposts this time or not. Man, it looks like Twitter might be having some issues about reposting, but
Oh, yeah.
yeah, it's having some. Yeah, it just totally crapped out on me just right now. So there is some more data, by the way, though. Y'all can take my word for it. Trust me, bro, on this. We're seeing the fire on the port. We're seeing the fire at the electrical spot. So apparently, it was multiple hits on that location from the looks of it.
Yeah, it does appear that that is the case. But also, I see some people saying it said potable water on the side. It did. That is correct, but there's still a fire reported in this area, so it's either directly on the power plant, or maybe some of these other tanks aren't storing water. Maybe they're storing something like fuel for the power plant. I'm not exactly sure, but there's a fire there, and generally, water doesn't burn. So there's something else there other than water that's on fire right now. That's all I know, and that's all I'm working off of, folks. Never seen water catch on fire. Kind of beats defeats the whole point of water. But outside of that, we are going to be moving on out of that news in the port of Fujairah, and we've also been able to get some additional news regarding the situation in the Strait of Hormuz and with the Islamic Republic of Iran. According to reports that were issued earlier today by US NAVCEN in CAGS, they stated the conditions for orderly transit of the Strait of Hormuz. Details: the U.S. has established an enhanced security area to support Strait of Hormuz transits south of the traffic separation scheme. The position and area is south of the traffic separation scheme in the Strait of Hormuz. Action: vessels choosing to transit the Strait of Hormuz should consider routing via Oman, territorial waters, south of the traffic separation scheme. If they repeat that again, I'm going to have a seizure. Due to anticipated traffic volume, coordination with Oman authorities via VHF Channel 16 is advised to maintain safety of navigation. Transit via or in close proximity to the traffic separation scheme should be considered extremely hazardous due to the presence of mines that have not been surveyed and mitigated. Operators are encouraged to carefully review risk assessments and routing ahead of transit. So, according to US NAVCEN, just to make this clear again, folks, US NAVCEN is saying, watch out for mines because they could still be in the area. US CENTCOM saying that they cleared out a shipping lane within the minefield and it's all good. These two statements are contradicting each other, which is an issue that we've been having with a lot of military and government statements throughout the day, because this is saying to transit basically skirting the Omani coast, which is just south of the minefield. And then it's saying don't go any further north because you might run into some mines and get blown up. But then that suggests that the U.S. Navy, or CENTCOM's commander, is falsely stating that the area has been demined and there's a shipping lane through it. Otherwise, they would say, here is the exact geographic parameters of where we've cleared out in the minefield that you can sail through. You don't have to skirt around the direct coast of Oman to be able to try and make it through. So, once again, we're getting more statements here that are contradicting, kind of what common sense would be, in that the minefield couldn't have been cleared within 48 hours, since the last mine laying that the Iranians have done was just 48 hours ago. So, once again, there's some issues there with the broader, I guess you could say, telling of the story at the moment. We've also been able to hear that oil prices are rising once again, and Brent crude has already skyrocketed back up to $120 per barrel after the UAE announced that Iranian drone attacks had hit one of their petroleum facilities. So it does appear that at the moment, we are starting to get an understanding and an idea here that this little issue or little fracas going on is raising the oil prices once again. A lot of people are currently talking about the situation, however, with the United Arab Emirates and whether the UAE is going to physically respond to the attacks by Iran or whether they're going to sit the whole thing out and take it easy again. And Matthew, what are people thinking about this, and what are you thinking about it as well?
Okay, so is the UAE going to finally respond? Because so far, the UAE has held back from launching attacks on Iran during the last covfefe that we had during the last round of attacks, and it looks like they have not responded yet either. So the Gulf states have generally just sort of been passive. They've been getting hit left and right during these attacks, and they don't do much about it, pretty much ever. So do you think that this attack right now will probably be the final nail in the coffin, and maybe the UAE will get involved? 50% said yes, the UAE will finally fight back. 28% said the UAE will not respond at all, and 16% said it seems like a 50-50 chance. So far, the UAE has issued a statement saying that they reserve the right to respond, but that's not the first time we heard that, though. I mean, we've heard that before, definitely. They're always reserving rights, but they're never exercising them. Honestly, it sounds like the U.S. Congress these days are reserving rights, but not exercising them. So I would say they're probably not going to respond. I'm with the 28%. It seems like they would want to, but they're not going to be responding. I don't think so. They're going to be hoping that the U.S. does something about it, and they don't have to. But Enforcer, what say you?
I'd have to say that I'm thinking that the UAE will probably sit back and not respond and just hope that the USA deals with the situation. That's what they did the last time. And I'm having a feeling that they might not change their pattern of behavior this time, because the patterns of behavior by all parties involved has generally not changed at all, even at the moment right now. And I'm thinking that they'll remain the same, meaning that the UAE will hold back and not conduct direct attacks against the Islamic Republic of Iran. But I gotta say, folks, there was a real diamond of a comment that I just saw in the chat, and I thought that this one was so interesting. I have to take a moment to address it. Someone in the chat said, well, obviously we're not going to know the exact location of where they've demined the strait, because then that means that the Iranians would know where we've demined the strait. So I've got to ask the question here. I've just got to ask it. So if nobody in the world knows where the safe shipping path through the Strait of Hormuz is that we've demined, what was the point of doing it? because the whole point of clearing out that path is to be able to get commercial ships through the area without them blowing up from a mine. So if we clear it out and then we don't tell the public where it is, and we don't tell the public is in the commercial ships where it is, and we don't tell anybody where it is, but it's there, what point was there in doing that? We're basically saying, okay, well, we finally made it safe to pass, but we're not going to tell anyone how we made it safe. So it's all top secret again. Like, I gotta say, folks, the whole push that people keep having of everything's secret because we can't let the Iranians know. I mean, that's getting really stupid, folks. People are hardly thinking with their brains here on this one. The whole point of clearing it out is to let commercial merchant ships know, which is the public, where to go through, where they're not going to get blown up. So what would be the point of clearing that out and then not letting them know where it is? That's like saying, okay, everybody, there's a whole bunch of snipers out there in that tree line. If you walk out there in that field, you're gonna get capped by the snipers. We took out one of them and it's safe out there somewhere, but we're not gonna tell y'all where that is. Just go out there and figure it out. Like that's basically is leaving them back to square one. They basically just have to sail back into a minefield again. That doesn't make sense. But anyways, moving us on out of that, we've also been able to hear that apparently, according to the United States, 2 U.S. flagged vessels did successfully make it out of the strait this morning, according to Admiral Brad Cooper of CENTCOM Area of Responsibility. But when asked how many ships had been hit by Iran, he declined to give a number and stated, "Don't tell the enemy you know that what they've been able to achieve." There we have that. We've also been able to hear as well that the Islamic Republic of Iran has announced that the strait is closed again, and they put out the following VHF announcement this morning to be able to announce the closure.
As a failure of the United States government to fulfill its commitments in the negotiations, the Islamic Republic of Iran declares the Strait of Hormuz completely closed again. No vessel of any type or nationality is allowed to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. Any vessel intending to exit the Strait of Hormuz that cross the red line between Hengam Island and Mina Sagat Port, and any vessel intending to enter the Strait of Hormuz that cross the red line between Kuf Mubarak and Fujairah Port will be met with a severe response from the IRGC Navy and will be destroyed. This is Sepah Navy. Out.
Man, instructions unclear. I'm plowing through the strait. I didn't understand hardly a damn word of that right there. U.S. warship, you'll go. It's like, can we get this in English? Like, I'm not understanding hardly anything this dude was saying.
Man, that guy said, "This is Iran Sepah Navy. Ibi baba boop boop." It's like, okay, thank you, dude. Really letting us know.
Is there not anybody that speaks like a clearer, like, accent of English possibly, where people might be able to like possibly actually get the instructions? I mean, if that's the instructions they're giving out, then no wonder there's confusion. I mean, hell, some people might have interpreted that to say, "Oh, the Iranians said the strait's clear, we're good to go. Let's start moving," and then they got blasted.
the Iranian commanders down there, man, they said, let's prank him. Get our worst English speaker to talk on the radio. And they went, "Really? Hey, Iran, come over here. Yep, what do you need?" They're like, "We need you to send out the message. Can you do that?" "Of course I can." Man, it's like, bro, I was like, if I was the captain down there right now in the Persian Gulf and I heard that message come through, I wouldn't know what to make of it, actually, to be honest with y'all.
Well, what did he say?
Yeah, you would have heard after that, this is the motor vessel such and such. Can you repeat that? I missed the whole thing. Like, you do not get repeat. Like, we will blow you up. But anyways, moving on from that, out of the Strait of Hormuz, that's the current situation that we're seeing right now. And we did get to confirm that around 6 to 4 small attack boats were destroyed, according to CENTCOM Commander Admiral Brad Cooper earlier this morning. Or are they 6? Are they 4? We don't know. We did get confirmation, though, that they were attacked or destroyed by AH-64 Apaches and MH-60 Seahawks. So it does appear that at the moment, the United States of America is using helicopter forces and AGM-114 Hellfires to be able to attack and destroy the boats. So we do understand that, at least at the moment. We've also been able to see that diversions are taking place from away from airports around the area, as we have started to hear that multiple flights that are bound for the area are currently starting to divert to Muscat in Oman amid the reported attacks in the region. We've also been able to hear additional reports that the Bahrainis are now declaring a state of alert, fearing possible attacks by the Iranians. And we've also seen that there were rumors that the Saudi Arabians and the United Arab Emirates were exerting tremendous pressure on the U.S. to try and continue the war. That was according to Israel, though, so I take that with a grain of salt because they're the ones kind of wanting to, get back to the whole thing. So I think they're trying to set the story up to make it sound like everyone wants to. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. We don't know. But we've also been able to hear as well within the state of Israel that they currently are preparing for a rapid transition to wartime activities against the Iranians again. And according to what we've been able to hear from Walla, I guess Walla Walla, Holla Holla, the IDF is preparing for a rapid transition to a state of war, understanding that only a spark or a misunderstanding between the parties is needed to collapse the ceasefire with the Iranian regime and resume fighting. Simultaneously, thousands of American soldiers and security officials are on standby in Israel. So we do have an understanding that at the moment the Israelis are getting ready for war once again. We also saw some jets over Jerusalem this morning in this picture. Looks to be couple of it looks to be an F-15 and two F-22s, so might be that of the U.S. Air Force. We've also been able to hear some additional reports from the Israeli government this morning, with the Israeli opposition leader stating that this means war. We've also been able to hear that Israel has announced that they will strike back, as a senior UAE official informed Israel that they do not intend to remain silent about the attacks. The Iranian regime has begun attacking us. We will strike back, they clarified. That was according to Israel Channel 12, so, once again, kind of take that with a bit of a grain of salt at the moment. But we do understand that is largely the situation at this moment within the area of the Middle East, and we're still waiting for more breaking news to happen at this moment right now. A lot of people are talking about whether or not the U.S. is going to fail to respond to Iran's new acts of aggression, and what would happen if that was the case. And Matthew, what are people thinking about that, and what are you thinking about that as well?
Okay, so also, have we gone over the president's post, that True Social post that he put out? Have we gone over that yet?
I don't think so.
So let's go over that first because we need to go over what the U.S. position is right now, politically speaking, before we get to the poll. It should be on the Twitter page. Let me see here. It should be. Let me go grab it real quick. Here we go. It should be on the likes tab. Go check the likes tab and it should be there.
Gotcha. Oh, here we are.
All right, so I'll read off what the president said. This is a True Social post that he made about an hour ago. He said, Iran has taken some shots at unrelated nations with respect to the ship movement, Project Freedom, including a South Korean cargo ship. Perhaps it's time for South Korea to come and join the mission. We've shot down several small boats, or as they like to call them, fast boats. It's all they have left, he says. Other than the South Korean ship, there's been, at this moment, no damage going through the strait. We'll get to that in a minute. But he said Secretary of War Pete Hegseth and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff Dan Kane will be holding a press conference tomorrow. Thank you for your attention to the matter. So that's what he said right here in his True Social post. Now, here's one thing I want to point out. It says no damage going through the strait, but I thought the ships were damaged as they were trying to transit through the Strait of Hormuz. I thought that's what happened. So I'm not sure what he's saying here by saying there was no damage going through the strait. That seems to imply that the ships were attacked before they even entered the Strait of Hormuz, which is even worse. So I'm not sure if he meant to say that or maybe he misspoke, but that's a little bit interesting with that caveat right there. But Enforcer, what do you think about this? What's your analysis before we jump into the poll?
This statement seems to be completely inaccurate. I mean, it was just yesterday that we saw that the IRGC seized two commercial vessels, holding the crew and the vessels hostage in their custody since yesterday. So, that's directly causing damage. Those ships were actually attacked as well yesterday, according to the UK MTO reports. So, that happened. We also understand that this morning, several ships appear to have been attacked and damaged passing through, so definitely more than the South Korean ship. And the day before that, there were several commercial ships that were also hit or seized by the IRGC, because we've seen over about a dozen of them over the past 5 days, either being attacked or seized by the Islamic Republic of Iran. And now, according to the president, other than the South Korean ship, there has been, at this moment, no damage going through the strait. There's been plenty of it. Before this whole Project Freedom thing has been announced, and right now, we're counting just after Project Freedom, there's been at least 3 ships that have been either seized, attacked, or damaged by the Iranians, so definitely more than one. And then before that, there was a lot more as well. So I don't know what's going on with this, but apparently our response at the moment is going to be a news conference. That will definitely show the Iranians. Maybe we can all stand around in Times Square and hold up a whole bunch of yellow Post-it notes and say that this is justice for the ship or whatever. Maybe. It doesn't look like at the moment, though, we're really committing to any form of military action against the Iranians, which we clearly ought to be doing, because the Iranians just showed that they're still not willing to talk Unlike what
Yeah.
people have been saying, and the president also was saying for the whole last week that the Iranians were begging for a deal and begging for the U.S. blockade to end, doesn't look like that. They just attacked it this morning, and they're also attacking everything else they can in the area right now.
Yeah, and also there was a report that was out earlier that allegedly the president might have made a statement to a mainstream news outlet threatening that Iran will be blown off the face of the earth if they dare attack U.S. ships guiding vessels through the Strait of Hormuz. Well, I mean, we've already seen that Iran has launched missiles at our warships. So apparently there was no wiping off the face of the earth. In fact, there's been no response whatsoever to the Iranians launching missiles at our ships. There's been no response at all so far. And now we're hearing about this whole thing about the press conference coming tomorrow. So it seems a little bit strange. And also, by the way, Israel's saying they're not going to hold back. That's what Israel's saying. They're saying they're going to respond to it eventually, but they're waiting for the U.S. green light. They're trying to still, give deference to the United States here on this. But that's a big question right now. Is the Gulf states going to be happy about this very slow response by the United States? And also, is Israel going to hold themselves back while the U.S. pretty much stalls the situation like this? That's the question.
Also, people who keep bringing up the timestamp to explain that it's Phytux that put this out. Phytux is based in Europe, if I'm not mistaken. And so when they see the post, it puts their timestamp on it. They screenshot it. They post it on Twitter. That's why it says
Yeah.
7:16 p.m. This is a legitimate post. You can go and look at Truth Social to see it.
Yeah, people say that every single time. We live in different time zones, folks. Like the people that post this stuff, some people aren't in the United States posting it, so it's not like a conspiracy. In fact, I'm going right now to go look at the Truth Social to go find the original post right here, and I can tell you exactly when it came out. Also, the president posting nonstop. I'm having to scroll through 1,000 different things to get to it. My goodness, he's
Also,
been posting. Oh my God, man, there's like 25 posts. Let's see here. So it was an hour ago. That's when this came out. So the actual time on it's 11:16 a.m. in our time, Mountain Time, out here in Utah. So that it's not a conspiracy. It's on the Truth Social.
yeah, so whoever posted this was most likely in Poland or somewhere over there when this came out, and they screenshot it, which is where Phytux is at. We talked to them, and they're based in Europe, I think in Poland, actually, so that matches up with the time zone. For people to say, oh, that doesn't match up with Utah time, that's because this is called Twitter. This isn't Truth Social. And so someone had to screenshot this from Truth Social and then clip it so that way it was just the post and then repost that over here on Twitter. So it actually doesn't show the time. If you look down on the bottom right side of my screen, you can see it's 1:03 p.m. in the state of Utah right now. This is, however, a picture, a snapshot that someone made from Poland and put it on Twitter, so the time zone doesn't match up. There's no great Illuminati conspiracy theory here, folks. It's just that the world has 24 different time zones because it's round and it's a globe.
Yeah, it's true. But in that note, though, let's get into the poll. It says here in the poll, if the USA fails to respond to Iran's new aggression, will the U.S. start to lose support of the Gulf states? 53% said yes, the Gulf states will get pissed. 32% said no, the Gulf states have no alternative. And 6% said they'll probably overlook it this time. So I have a feeling that the Gulf states are getting a little bit agitated. We have heard so far that Saudi Arabia has been encouraging the United States to restart hostilities again and finish the job because they are seeing the disaster that's unfolding right now in the Strait of Hormuz, and they want it to be dealt with. So they're encouraging the United States to get back started. We know Israel is encouraging it. They're always encouraging, the whole conflict. They're always doing that. So Israel's definitely behind it. And now we're hearing that a U.S. senator is now encouraging it as well. Y'all might know who it is. It's Lindsey again. Lindsey's always doing that. He's kind of like Israel with that whole situation. He's always encouraging that. But in this case, though, I would agree with him. It's about time to finish the job, especially now. I mean, Iran has given the United States every justification in the world to go and deal with the situation. I'm kind of surprised that the U.S. didn't launch immediate counterstrikes after Iran did this. Kind of a little bit odd. I mean, my question is this. What is the plan for the next few days? Is the U.S. going to keep encouraging commercial ships to take a massive risk and go through the Strait of Hormuz and potentially get hit with a missile while the U.S. warships hang out nearby and wave and give, moral support? Are they going to be doing that for the next few days? Or what are we doing here? Like at this point, the plan's not clear. And if the plan's not clear to us, then the public, I can almost promise you the plan's not clear to the commercial shipping companies. It's probably not clear whatsoever. So When it comes to the Gulf states getting pissed, I would say I'm with the 54%. They're probably getting irritated. I'm sure everybody in the region at this point might be getting a little bit irritated. They're probably trying to hide it to keep relations good. But yeah, I'd imagine that it's probably bubbling under the surface. But Enforcer, what say you?
I'd have to say I'm with the 54%. They're probably getting pretty pissed because right now, at the moment, the Iranians have attacked the UAE again, gone out of their way to do that, and have attacked the U.S. Navy. And our response at the moment right now is to do nothing. Basically, rather than fire back at a minimum to deal with the threats that are firing at us. But we're not starting any larger airstrike campaigns or anything else. And I don't know where this is going to be heading, folks. There's a couple of places that this can be heading, and I'll list out the couple of options we have right now and what the likelihood of chance that's going to be done and how it'll turn out. But right now, the most likely chance that I'm going to say all of them are equally likely. It's a 33% chance for each of them. One option is that the United States, in the next few days, actually responds to this and starts military actions against the Iranians again and forcibly reopens the strait. The other option is that the United States does nothing and we just sit here and continue to sit around and let the Iranians either continue to attack us or they stop and we still do nothing, which is the third option. I don't know which way it's going to go, but with how the U.S. is not really reacting at the moment right now, and is basically treating this like a little ordeal, considering that the Iranians just fired at U.S. warships and were attempting to destroy them by firing anti-ship missiles at them, and they've already caused some pretty significant damage in the UAE, it's a little bit odd that we haven't seen a response yet. I mean, it's been a couple of hours now since all of this started, and we're still seeing that the U.S. has not made any active armed response yet at the moment. And that's a little bit interesting to me because it's suggesting that we might see that the U.S. just decides not to make a response to what has just happened. And if that is the case, that's incredibly weakening of the image of the United States of America around the world, and is also going to be causing a great deal of anger amongst our allies inside the Middle East. But with that in mind, we actually have more breaking news stories coming out at this moment. So, Matthew, what do we got?
Okay, so we have two breaking news stories. We have 2 for 1, they call it right here. So right now, getting to the Middle East first, and then we'll get to our other news. We have some, and believe it or not, there's something else happening in Moscow right now. We just saw a crazy attack on Moscow last night. We're seeing something else happen right now, but we'll get to that secondary. Right now, we're seeing that the UAE has just announced that they shot down 12 ballistic missiles, 3 cruise missiles, and 4 drones fired from Iran today, according to the UAE's Ministry of Defense. But they failed to mention the ones that hit Fujairah. We did see, of course, Fujairah got hit, which is the oil site right off the coast. But apparently the UAE used some of the Israeli Iron Dome system, which Israel recently lent to the UAE to give them to defend their country. The Iron Dome was the one that shot down the missiles coming in, from the sounds of it. So that's what got it. But apparently they didn't shoot them all down, though, because we saw, multiple targets get hit. But I guess you could say it is positive in one respect, because the UAE kind of did defend. But, it is what it is at this point. But that's the story out of the Middle East. So, Enforcer, would you like to weigh in on that one before we jump into the major Moscow news?
Oh, no. Please proceed to the Moscow news.
So the major Moscow news right now is we are seeing that there's an ongoing Ukrainian drone attack, get this, again in Moscow, in Domodedovo, which is a hard one to say. That's where a major airport's located, by the way. Apparently, it's a very large attack, and the missiles, or not missiles, but the drones may also be heading for downtown Moscow once again. So that's a pretty big deal right there. Another attack this close on Moscow. Also, by the way, Zelensky has just announced that Ukraine will begin a ceasefire on May the 5th and the 6th. And that is contrary to what Putin just said. Putin just announced a unilateral ceasefire on his accord. And apparently that ceasefire is only going to be on the days of the parade around May the 9th. So it sounds like Ukraine is saying they'll do a ceasefire outside of the parade, but Putin is demanding that it gets done during the parade. So I look at that. There's a big discrepancy there with that. Also, Russia has just announced that if Ukraine attempts to attack the Victory Day parade, there will be a massive direct retaliatory missile strike on the center of Kyiv. That's what they just said a minute ago. So that situation with Russia, Moscow, Putin, and Zelensky, that situation is very volatile right now, to say the least. But Enforcer, what say you?
A very interesting turn of events. We can also see here, folks, in the statement that was issued, it says position Domodedovo in the Moscow Oblast, drone threat currently happening over the area. That's generally what this post says. Domodedovo is on the southern side of the city of Moscow, near to the outer ring road, where the air defense is primarily based, but it kind of falls almost kind of within air defense dead zone from what we've seen in the past. Most attacks the Ukrainians conduct within the southern area of Moscow actually end up being successful in either knocking out the power grid or causing some significant damage to some industrial sites within the area. So this is quite an interesting one to see. The Ukrainians are continuing attacks on this once more, and not only that, are continuing their strikes around Moscow with hundreds of drones on the way, as we were hearing just a little while ago. It does appear that at the moment, the armed forces of Ukraine are still attempting to pressure the Russians into canceling their parade, or at least threatening them significantly that if the parade goes forward, there might be a major Ukrainian attack that, God forbid, might knock out the parade, or cause major damage to the forces involved in the parade. So a little bit interesting with that one, and it's quite nice to see.
It is wild. Also, by the way, I hate to pull your brain back another direction, but let's jump back to the Middle East here for a second. So apparently, it looks like this is according to Jonathan Carl. By the way, Jonathan is a reporter with ABC News. He says in a phone conversation a short while ago, the president stopped short of saying that Iran has violated the ceasefire regarding the Iranian drone and missile attacks on the UAE, which we just got done looking at on video. By the way, you saw the fires and major hits on the coast of Fujairah at the oil port. Apparently, the president allegedly said, according to Jonathan, they were shot down for the most part. One got through, but not huge damage. I would say that's not really the truth, because we just saw a video just a minute ago that apparently some oil containers are on fire on the coast, and it looks like there's multiple hits to the Fujairah facility. So that's kind of underplaying it quite a bit. Also, regarding the Iranian attack on a South Korean ship, quote unquote, we're going to look into it. Shots were fired at a South Korean ship, and I think South Korea should take some action, even though they're on the entire other side of the world. This was a South Korean ship riding by itself. It was not an escorted ship. Okay, so now apparently the South Korean ship was not being escorted from the looks of it. So I don't know, folks. Like here's the thing. Like he can say a million different things, and we're like piecing together the puzzle. If it's this hard to piece it together, then there's clearly some discrepancies in the story. Like obviously, because at this point, you know. 1 minute it sounds like it's escorted, the next minute it's not escorted. I mean, why is there so much disinformation running around from the executive branch at this point? I mean, it's insane how many versions of the story there is at this point. But Enforcer, what say you?
Also, you know what this statement summarizes into? It says the U.S. isn't taking any action over what happened today. That's what this says in short. We're going to look into it. Shots were fired at a South Korean ship, and I think that South Korea should take some action. So that means that the U.S. isn't planning on responding to this at all. This is just entirely on South Korea, and we're completely skirting over the fact that the Iranians did fire at U.S. warships this morning, which was confirmed by the CENTCOM commander. So before anyone says, no, they didn't, it was confirmed by the U.S., so that's what we're working with. We take government statements at face value for the most part, unless they sound completely untrue or unbelievable. So we can confirm they did fire at U.S. warships, so they did attempt to attack and sink them this morning, and apparently they failed from what we're assuming, but we're not entirely sure. They fired upon a ship that we are supposedly supposed to be escorting through the strait, or at least supporting their freedom of navigation. Now we're not supporting their freedom of navigation. Now they got blown up. It's on South Korea, and it wasn't even being escorted. So generally, Project Freedom's already collapsed at this moment right now, because the support for U.S. navigation doesn't mean anything once your ship's hit and caught on fire, because then the U.S. just completely acts like you weren't supposed to do that, and it was just a whole thing that they weren't attached to or involved in. And also the other thing is that apparently we're not going to respond to Iran attacking the United Arab Emirates, which is an ally of the United States for the larger part in the area, or our warships, or the attempted attacks on the warships this morning. So,
Yeah.
pretty weak response.
Yeah, a little strange. Also, by the way, the U.S. also called this morning on China to help reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Just to remind everybody, I'm sure everybody knows this, it's common sense. China is an adversary of the United States, so that's like calling on Russia to assist. But, oh man, Enforcer, can you pull up the post? Could you pull up the post, possibly real quick right here? Because apparently Xi Jinping has weighed in on this right here. As you can see, it says, we ain't reopening shit, bro. And there's Xi Jinping right there delivering the solemn news to the United States. It's a little bit wild. I don't even understand why they asked China to help reopen the strait, because China is funding Iran right now because they know how much economic damage they're inflicting on the United States by keeping the strait closed, and they know how much damage it's causing by Iran being terrorists in the region. So why we're asking our enemy to help us out? I mean, I don't understand that. It makes us look desperate.
Yeah, it does make us look desperate. Also, it's like it makes us look stupid, honestly, because it's like, why in the world would that would be like the U.S. in World War II going, damn, we're having a problem down at the Mexican border. Hey, Nazi Germany, I know that we just invaded y'all and everything, but y'all want to come down and help? It's like, what? It's like, that's literally the enemy of the United States. That is the number one enemy. That's public enemy number one. It's China. Russia's number two and Iran's number three, speaking in terms of priority, as far as the most dangerous and powerful of the group. So we're literally going to go to the leader of the modern Axis powers and ask them to help us. That is ridiculous. I've not, I gotta say, folks, I've never heard anything like this in my life before. Imagine this happening in any other period of history. Hey, like the American Revolutionary War is going on, and then they're like, hey, Britain, could you help send some money to rebuild that bridge down in Philadelphia, please? We'd be really thankful for that. It's like, what the hell? It's like, I could never imagine, man, in any other historical period, a legitimate request of an enemy nation to help us out in our own strategic quagmire. Like they're going to help. Like that doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah, I don't understand it really. But we'll have to see what the plan is over the next few days. But I mean, here's the catch, folks. I think eventually Israel is going to act outside of U.S. Instructions at some point. I think they're going to probably go for it at some point, because I mean, Israel is thinking about the whole situation. They're thinking, Israel's been wanting to deal with Iran. I mean, the entire time we've been having to hold Israel back from what they've been wanting to do. So, if the U.S. keeps taking this very strange approach of letting the Iranians take pot shots at the Gulf states, take pot shots at the U.S. vessels, and also I'm sure that Iran's probably going to restart their attacks on Israel probably soon. I would imagine so. If they're attacking everybody else, they're probably going to resort back to Israel, and also not to mention the proxy forces, they're still attacking Israel even to this day. We're seeing Hezbollah, they're still launching rockets at Israel nonstop. So that ceasefire didn't hold up whatsoever. So I have a feeling that Israel's probably going to say, hey, look, United States, you can either do something or we're going to have to do something, one or the other. And the United States might get into maybe a confrontation with the Israelis about that. But ultimately, I think Israel might act on their own.
Yeah, I think they probably will. It certainly looks like the Israelis are raring to go. I mean, they have been raring to go every day. And the reality of it is that they were raring to go as soon as Hezbollah fired a couple of drones at them. They restarted the whole thing up again in southern Lebanon, which obviously makes sense because if someone breaks the ceasefire, it's over. But beyond that, though, they've been signaling for weeks now that they're ready to get back to going to war with Iran. And at any moment, they're just probably going to go loose and do whatever they want, regardless of what the United States wants. And then we'll basically have to be dragged back into it as a result because of everything else that'll be happening in the region. So, with that,
Also, by the way, while we're on this real quick, check the current crude prices. I think U.S. crude oil WTI, I think it closed up like $4 or $5 above what it already was. I think it's at $108 a barrel, but check that, it's 105 right now. It was up to 108. It looks like a little bit earlier, maybe a few hours ago, possibly, but now it's at 105. So the oil is still going up. It's not going up as bad as I thought it was for the most part. Brent went up pretty significantly. I know Brent's it's very high. I can't remember the exact number it's at right now, but it jumped up a lot. So we'll have to see how this goes. Originally, though, the markets had seemed like they were reacting in a positive manner at first. It seemed like they were trying to sort of bring the price down a bit, the investors were, by trying to invest lower, I guess. Because they thought that maybe with the escorting of ships to the Strait of Hormuz, that would fix a problem. But I think as it becomes apparent that's really not fixing it, I think this price might start to go back up quite a bit again.
yeah, I have a feeling this is probably going to start going back up quite a good bit, without a doubt, because we're not seeing any actions by the U.S. that is even showing that the strait's going to be reopened at all, or that we're even going to be escorting ships through at this point. And Matthew, I was just kind of thinking on that whole announcement that was made yesterday that we were covering in that breaking news stream. Isn't that kind of interesting that the U.S. said something that would be stabilizing the oil trades and the oil logistics around the world literally right before the markets opened on Monday? Wasn't that kind of interesting?
Yeah, well, I mean they do actually have the ships around there though. Like the ships are in the area. That's why they got missile attacked by Iran. They are there, but the catch is though the plan was not as cohesive as they were making it out to be, and that became obvious this morning.
Well, yeah, but when you think about it, though, they say something that sounds really positive. Like, oh, don't worry, everybody. The oil will finally start flowing again because we're going to start escorting the ships through, and it's going to go like clockwork. And so then the oil prices drop. And then this morning, we see that there is no proof of U.S. warships around the strait. A ship did try to go through and it got blown up. And then once it gets blown up, we say, actually, we weren't escorting that one. And, and on top of that, the whole situation is what it is. And we'll have a press conference on this tomorrow. And outside of that, it just kind of is what it is. It kind of seems like those statements may have been made to put away some fears before, things started getting back to business on Monday. And then after that statement was made, it looks like there hasn't really been any actual follow through on making that a reality of what was said yesterday. But we actually have breaking news coming out at this moment right now. So, Matthew, what do we got?
Okay, so the Iranians are making some statements again. So if anybody's ever confused about, whether or not the U.S. should negotiate with Iran at this point after this multi-week ceasefire, here's your answer. The IRGC senior Ali is his name really Ali Akbar? Is this a joke or is this real, bro? Is this real? Like, is somebody pulling my leg with this?
Ali Akbar.
Ali Akbar, bro. This can't be real. This cannot be real.
You're not gonna believe it. It's real.
It's real.
He's
Okay,
a real guy. He's Ali Akbar Ahmadian.
Fair enough. So IRGC senior Ali Akbar Ahmadian responding to reports that the U.S. rules of engagement have been changed. Mr. Akbar said, come closer. We are ready. So, I mean, there's the Iranians right there. I mean, Ali Akbar said it out of his own mouth. He said, come closer, we're ready, U.S. Navy. So, I mean, I think very clearly the Iranians are not looking to negotiate. It's time for action on the Iranian regime. And, I mean, they got the spokesman out here, Ali Akbar, man. They got the spokesman. I mean, I thought somebody was pulling my leg there for a minute with this, but apparently that's actually his name. But that is what it is. But Enforcer, what say you?
Oh my god, man, this is a joke. This is a joke. There's no way that this guy's dad would say, "I will name him Ali Akbar." Oh my god, I can't believe that. That's like his actual name, and he's a legitimate person. Like, he's not fake or anything. He's real. I gotta say, apparently it looks like they're not going to be negotiating with us. Looks like they never really were wanting to, and as we already know, they're just trying to buy themselves time to build up further pressure on the United States economically by keeping the U.S. position in limbo. So big shout out to Ali Akbar Clean for getting that one out to us, because we always love to know that we are still dead on the nail. The Iranians are impossible to negotiate with because it's a radical terrorist regime that's in charge of the country. So clearly they're not going to negotiate in good faith or operate on good faith. So there we have that. I gotta say though, man, at this point, I feel like, what I feel like, man? I feel like I'm playing a game of like Civ 6 or something. Y'all know Civ 6, don't y'all folks? It's like a video game where you play as different countries, and there's like some guy in the game who's like called something like Deus Vol or Ali Akbar or Aloha Snack Bar or something. Like, I feel like at this point we're almost playing like a game of Civ 6 where everyone's just joking. Like, how the hell is there a guy who's in charge in the IRGC that's literal name is Ali Akbar? I mean, you couldn't come up with that in a comedy skit and make people think that's believable. People would think that's corny.
Well, the second best, I think this one might take the cake right here. And I didn't know that. I've never heard of this dude right here. That's the first time I've ever heard him saying. They just brought him out the closet. They just brought Ali Akbar out the closet and start making some threats toward the United States. So, I mean, they come out of the woodwork, people. I can't keep straight, like, who's talking on behalf of the Iranians at this point. But, down there in Yemen with the Houthis, they have, like, something al-Houthi. Like, his name is al-Houthi, the dude that's in charge of that group down there. So, I mean, the naming conventions here are definitely a little bit fascinating, to say the least.
And then the former ISIS leader was Baghdadi. Like, who the hell came up with that name?
Yeah, al-Baghdadi. That's the one that was like, yelping like a dog and crying in the corner when the Marines came after him. Yeah, that's that one.
Yeah, that was that one. And then you had, let's see, what are some other ones? I can't think of any others off the top of my head. But yeah, I mean, like, the names are wild sometimes down there. A real trip.
Yeah, it is. It's really wild, definitely for sure. Also, by the way, like at this point, folks, like we were saying before, like I was just making the point a minute ago. I mean, the Iranians don't want to talk, so I'm not sure. That's why we've been saying we're not sure why the U.S. is like stalling right now because there's not any reason to stall. Like the Iranians are still attacking. They're still a problem. The regime's still in charge. They're still holding up the strait. I'm not sure what they're waiting for. I think that's what everybody's asking at this point. The Gulf states, the Israel, everybody's like, what the hell are you waiting for, United States? I mean, even U.S. citizens are asking, "What are we waiting for?" And we're the ones, putting ourselves at risk by going there to get in the situation. So I don't know what they're up to at this point. I'm not sure if anybody does. Also, we're hearing even allies of the administration start to say it's time to finish the job in Iran, and we're still not seeing the job get finished. So I don't know. I feel like they're getting. I don't want to say they're frozen out of not sure what they're doing. I'm not really sure if they're frozen because of that reason. I'm not sure which way to turn at this point. But I mean, it's like I'm at a loss.
I'm at a complete loss, and I don't know what to make of it. And also, I find it funny. I always find it humorous, folks, because we always say something like, well, the U.S. position is, that they're going to do nothing, and they don't really have a plan. And then people will be like, "Oh, you're full of crap." And then something like this happens today, and it's like, well, that clearly is the case. They don't plan on doing anything. And everyone always says that there's some greater plan going on or there's the 60 chess, and we're not seeing it. I mean, if there were, like, I would like to see at this point, like we've been saying for months now, that they forcibly reopen the strait because that's the only thing that's going to work. But outside of that, we have more breaking news coming out at this moment right now. So, Matthew, what do we got?
Okay, so right now we are seeing that apparently, according to sources in Israel, and they're allegedly getting this information from officials within the government, they're saying the U.S. and Israel are considering hitting Iranian missile launchers and an energy facility in response to the Iranian attack on the UAE. They're saying here that apparently they might go for a parallel strike. Since Fujairah was hit, they're going to try to hit something that Iran has that's similar to Fujairah and try to level the playing field. But that's what Israel's saying, though. Sometimes Israel puts stuff out and it turns out not to be true later. Sometimes it happens. This could be one of those instances. But I would be surprised. I will admit, I would be surprised if the U.S. didn't respond whatsoever to this. That would be unbelievable. I would have to see that to believe it. It could be that maybe the U.S. is simply waiting to get their act together before they launch this retaliatory strike, possibly. I would have thought they already had that plan in motion since they started this freedom operation on Strait today. But maybe they were behind the curve a little bit. Maybe it's going to take them like a couple of hours to get ready, possibly. So we'll have to see, but that's what they're saying.
Yeah, I would have to say most of the time though, Israel makes statements like Israeli media makes statements like there's a scheme to blow up all of Iran, and it never comes true. Like honestly, like if you ever listen to the Israeli papers, folks, you'd be thinking that the swift justice of the sword is coming every day to everybody in the region, and usually it never does. So we'll have to wait and see. Maybe that's being considered, but generally considering that it's coming from Israeli news sources, I'd kind of doubt its veracity, really. But beyond that, though, that is the situation that we're currently seeing within the Middle East right now. We're going to be making sure to keep up to date on it from time to time, but we have a little bit more news, just a small bit, to tell you all about that's currently ongoing just a little bit up north near Russia. Right now, 200 drones are heading to Moscow. We've already been able to hear that some of them did hit around the Domodedovo airport, and we've also been able to see some additional footage of Ukrainian drones making it on in, and this is actually a heat map, I believe, that is showing us where Russian air defenses are. And that's quite a large amount of air defenses, and also where the FP-1 made it, which was all the way into the very inside of the Moscow air defense perimeter. We've also been able to hear as well that in the early hours of this morning, a Russian Ka-52 was actually chasing down a Ukrainian drone over Moscow. There it is, chasing the drone.
Oh, wow. He's got a whole helicopter chasing it. Look at that thing's kind of going slow.
Yeah, honestly. There it is again, chasing the drone. There's the drone. And there's the Ka-52 behind it.
Looks like they're taking a long time to shoot it down. Like, I'm not sure if maybe they're in range of it or not, but they're just like, they're kind of just following it.
They're just, I wonder if we'll make it to the Kremlin. Like, just flying behind it, just watching it go on in. There's the Ka-52 again, going about as slow as Christmas. really quite the high adrenaline chase that we're looking for here, going 3 miles an hour up there.
Man, this is less boring than that chase with O.J. Simpson and the Bronco.
You know, man, if they had a white helicopter, we could say that they're riding around in a white Bronco, please. That's the end of that clip. And moving us on from that and on out of Moscow, we've also been able to see that drones were flying on into the town of Samara as well, which we can hear right here.
Ой,
It's
прям,
coming
вот
on in.
Вот он, прям над моим домом. Ебать, видно, нет? Смотри, летит, сука.
And there it is, doing some aerobatics over the central area of the city.
Пиздец.
And this is the new one that's happening, like right now.
This one happened about a few hours ago. It was like 6 hours ago or so at this point.
Слышите?
Oh,
So
okay.
basically, while we were sleeping, this was going on. And that is currently most of all the news that we have out of Russia. We also were able to hear, folks, that apparently the withdrawal of the U.S. forces from Germany that's been brought up by the president is apparently going to be specifically affecting the 2nd Cavalry Regiment at Vilsa Grafenwar, which is a striker formation. This is a combat-ready forward-deployed unit and non-administrative personnel. It's built for rapid movement, armored operations, and NATO exercises across Europe, with frequent deployments to Poland, the Baltics, and Romania. Particularly, the 2nd Cavalry Regiment is one of the more mobile firepower units that the U.S. military has currently within the area. It is also not attached to an Atlantic Resolve rotational division. I believe it's actually directly attached to the 5th Corps itself, based out of Poznan, Poland. And it also is, well, actually, really quickly, let me go check that really quickly, because I actually have this one on one of my maps. So let me go check the Cav regiment and go see where it is and what command it falls under directly. This map finally became useful. Let me scroll on down. Let me see here. I need to find the 2nd Theater, 2nd Cav regiment. Is this it? No, that's not it. The 2nd Cav. There it is. So the 2nd Cav Regiment falls under the command of 5th Corps in Poznan, Poland. So it does fall under the command of 5th Corps in Poznan. And this is more so of a rapid maneuverability force, especially compared to the armored brigades that we generally keep under the control of the Atlantic Resolve rotational divisions. And it's a little bit of concerning to move it out, because this is basically our quick reaction force that can race up to a field, kind of fix the Russians in position, hopefully a little bit, or slow them down, or basically create a screen to be able to slow down their advance before our armor brigades are able to move in and really start punching them down. So, a little bit interesting that we'd be moving that one out, because it's not really a good move for the United States in terms of grander strategy, and is basically leaving all of our Atlantic Resolve rotational divisions without any form of a screening force, which the 2nd Cav Regiment would be able to provide in the event of open war. So it's not really hurting our enemies, it's more so hurting us if we remove this unit from Europe, as it holds an integral part in our early operations if the outbreak of war ever does happen inside of Europe and we have to respond. So, I hope that does address that little story the best I can at the moment. But with that, we're still waiting for breaking news to come out at this time.
We have a little bit more news right here. Also, by the way, inside of Moscow, a pretty top-level guy turned up dead in Moscow this morning. They found him apparently in an apartment. I want you to keep this in mind, by the way. Last night when we saw the attack by Ukraine on Moscow, we did see a high-level apartment appeared to get hit directly by a Ukrainian drone, and several people were pointing out last night very precisely that maybe that was a targeted hit by Ukraine on somebody, but we never got details about it. But all of a sudden this morning, though, we heard that the former head of Russia's Chemical Protection Division had been found dead in Moscow. They discovered him, in some circumstances I can't describe on YouTube, unfortunately, but he was found in his apartment, and they say that it was something that was a little bit questionable about what happened to him in that apartment. So he was a pretty high-level guy, by the way. Just to give you some more details about this guy, he was apparently the ex-commander of the Russian Radiation, Chemical, and Biological Defense Forces. He was a Colonel General Stanislav Petrov, and he's now deceased as of this morning. So We don't know if maybe it was like one of those covert FSB hits that occasionally they go take out some of their people that have left positions before, I guess just to tie up loose ends or something. Or maybe, possibly, the Russians are trying to cover up the fact that maybe he was in that apartment last night they got hit, and maybe he was the target, possibly. Not entirely sure. Right now, it's all speculation, but he is deceased as of this morning. But Enforcer, what do you think about that?
Sounds like foul play to me. That's what I think. The Russians are pretty familiar with doing this sort of a thing to their people, so it sounds like someone got the window treatment again this morning. But beyond that, not really much more to report on than that. So with that, at the moment, we actually are waiting for more breaking news to come out. And while we are waiting for more breaking news to come out, we're going to take a brief little moment to get to. Oh, actually, we got breaking news coming out this moment right now. So what do we got, Matthew?
So we have some breaking news that the UAE is dealing with yet another wave of drone and missile attacks right now. I have seen some UAE commentators say that Iran will regret this, but we don't know what that means. It could mean anything. It could mean that maybe Iran's going to have some nasty statements lobbed their way by the UAE officials. It could mean that the UAE is going to lock some more people up for filming in their own country. It could mean anything. But apparently the UAE is getting attacked yet again. We don't have any footage coming out. Like I mentioned earlier, the UAE right now is currently arresting people for filming the damage or the attacks inside their country, which is a little bit crazy. But of course, the UAE is not exactly what you'd call a democracy. So, it is what it is. Also, by the way, that's why we never went to the UAE, because of things like that. But as you can see, though, apparently another wave coming in. But Enforcer, what say you?
Mm-mm-mm. Sounds like someone's breaking
Yeah,
in.
I was about to say that.
Oh man, but it sounds like they're under attack some more. We've yet to see anyone respond to the Iranian attacks over the hours that they've been going on. So we'll just have to wait and see if anyone does anything. Sounds as though the Iranians are back on the warpath and they are at war with us once more and our allies, but yet the United States has not responded. Or the UAE for that matter either. So with that, we will be waiting to see what comes out of this information and news that's transpiring at this moment. And with that, it's time for us to get on into chit-chatting with you all for a little bit as we wait for more breaking news to come out over the next several moments. And so, Matthew, what do we got?
I'll tell you what, the UAE is like, all those like super villains speaking of Batman. You're gonna regret this, Batman. It's like, come on now. It's
Now,
like,
my Mr.
I mean,
Nice Guy.
I like, you got the spirit in you. Like, that's the spirit, defend yourself, self-defense, a crazy old-fashioned concept, self-defense. But, it's like, you might maybe decide to defend your country, possibly. I mean, trust me, nobody's holding the UAE back. Like, I can almost assure you that the United States is not telling the UAE, you can't attack, don't do it. I promise you they're not saying that. I think the U.S. was trying to prod the Gulf states to actually defend themselves the last time that they were getting attacked. So I don't know why. I don't know why the UAE is doing this. Like, I don't know why they're sitting back really thinking about it. Maybe they're trying to work up the courage or something. I don't know. But anyways, though, moving on from that and moving into our super chat questions here in the meantime, we'll keep scanning for more breaking news, by the way. I'm sure there will be more coming out shortly. But our first one goes to none other than Joppy. And thank you very much, Joppy, for that $100 support. And we do appreciate that very, very much. And Joppy said, as a continuation to my last super chat, let me go see where that one was. I'll read off the other one first, since Joppy put in that one first. Excuse me, by the way, over here sniffling. I apologize, folks. I apologize for sniffling on the air like that. We literally woke up, drank coffee. First thing I had to do was start researching immediately for the stream. Like, once I woke up, I was still in a fog, like the war is right now when I woke up. And the coffee hasn't done much for me. It really hasn't jolted me awake like I thought it was. So I might have to go for another possibly. But now I'm sniffling on the air, so I've hit rock bottom. But our first question here from Joppy said, a country's leader and underlings repeatedly threatening big attacks and counterattacks and not following through. I never thought I would hear that from the U.S. China or Russia, sure, they do it all the time, but USA, what the hell?
Yeah, I know. It's very annoying because usually with the U.S. we're supposed to live up to our word of what we say is what we do, and it doesn't really get done a lot these days. For that matter at this point, which is very annoying to me because I feel like the United States ought to be pretty direct. We ought to say either the strait's going to be open in 14 days or we're going to be opening it. And then once 14 days passes, we go and forcefully open it instead of what we've seen so far, which is if the Iranians don't open the strait, we're going to blow it up. And then, like, it comes to the very last hour of that deadline. Actually, everybody, I've had a change of heart due to the Iranians going to the toilet and dropping a log. We're going to be extending the ceasefire indefinitely now. And then it's just stuff like that endlessly. And now they attack us today, and our response is, well, that's really unfortunate. Looks like South Korea ought to come and help. Anyways, you're going to be having a press conference tomorrow, and I also picked out gold chandeliers for the ballroom. Look at them. You know, it's like, why can't we just actually respond to what's going on? And a lot of people these days are just completely, like, brain dead, I would assume. Like, you know, like when they talk about this kind of stuff in foreign policy, because some people will sit there and say, well, clearly the U.S. can't just be straightforward. We've got to lie about everything. And it's like, well, what happened to the transparency that the U.S. government's supposed to have and has had historically forever? Like, I don't know if y'all know this, but the first time that the U.S. ever went to war with anybody, rather than Britain, it was a group of pirates in North Africa that kept on boarding and raiding U.S. merchant ships that were traveling around the area. And Thomas Jefferson sent them a letter and said, hey, y'all are going to stop that, or we're going to go over there and we're going to make sure that y'all regretted ever doing that. And they kept doing it. And then we built the US's Constitution, and literally for that reason, and sailed it over there and made sure that they regretted ever doing it. In fact, we completely destroyed their little barber pirate state nation that they had made and burned their entire port to the ground in Tunisia. So, you know, it's like, ever since then, the U.S. government has been pretty direct and straightforward about its intentions. If we say something like, hey, open up that strait, that means that. Like, by that deadline. You don't sit there and change that in the last minute, in the last hour. You just are direct with everything. Of course, not getting into details, which a lot of people also don't get the nuance of that. You don't let everyone in the signal chat to let them know when we're going to be bombing the Houthis, kind of, you know, straightforward. But you get straightforward with the broader message. This is, you do this, and if you don't, this is going to happen by this time, and you don't back off of it. When you make statements, you're supposed to mean them. But a big thanks to you for the support and help this channel to keep running. And I have to say, it's gotten very aggravating to me and very annoying, because it is making the United States look like an absolute clown show and a joke on the international stage to back off of every single thing that we say and to do the complete opposite or something different and then go blame someone else or something like that. But a huge thanks to you once again. And with that, we're on to the next one.
All right, and our next one from Joppy is another 20 right here. They said the claim that U.S. ships got through without being attacked, and also, by the way, they did say that the ships were attacked, by the way. That they actually did confirm that eventually, but they say they defended successfully against the missiles. Joppy also said, and covering up the South Korean ship having been attacked implies its narrative control and to instill false confidence for ships waiting for their chance. Now, I will give credit where credit is due. The administration did acknowledge that the South Korean ship was attacked, and also they did say that the warships were attacked as well. But they said it was no big deal with the warships, like I mentioned. And also they said that the South Korean ship wasn't being escorted. So that's their narrative that they're putting out. So they did acknowledge it at least, but obviously the acknowledgement, you know, lacked a few details that it probably needed to add to it. But to give credit where credit's due. But Enforcer, what say you?
I have to say that generally they did let everyone know about the South Korean ship getting hit. But one thing I will say, though, is that the whole narrative control side of things these days with everything else is just getting out of control. I mean, we're literally, like, we are watching the United States right now be the weakest country that I've seen, the weakest form of America that I've seen the whole time that we've ever covered news here. Because I've never seen the United States put out so many red lines like we have with the Iranians since we stopped the shooting conflict with them, and then never follow through on any of them. How many times, folks, have we threatened to blow up all of the power plants and bridges in the country and never follow through with that? 5 times. That's a bad threat to even put out. That's one you don't want to follow through on, and yet we put that threat out 5 times and backed off of it 5 times. Looking like a joke doesn't, you know, just flatline at a level. It compounds further and further each time you make a goofy threat like that and then back off of it. And then it looks even worse when we sit there and say something like, the U.S. military is indestructible, it can do anything and everything, and, you know, the Strait of Hormuz isn't even a problem. Yet we won't even get close to just breaking the blockade on the Hormuz and proving that statement correct. It's just ridiculous. Like there needs to be clear statements made and clear action being made. The words are important. I know a lot of people look at stuff these days like everything's a joke. You can be the troller in chief and whatever, but that's not how in the world really works. Because right now the Chinese are thinking that they can probably take us out to the cleaners right now with how much of a joke we look like over Iran, and the Russians might be thinking the same as well. Because Iran, folks, is a road bump compared to dealing with even the Russians. The Iranians hardly have anything even compared to the Russians, and the Russians are not even close to being what the Chinese are. And if we keep on looking like a joke like this every time we go into a war or any sort of a foreign policy endeavor, we're going to keep making the case to our enemies that we are so weak that we can be attacked at any moment, and it might be a walk in the park, even with how strong our military is conventionally and how well trained our troops are. The leadership at the top will fail it all once anything comes to the wash. But big thanks to you for the support and help this channel to keep on running, and I hope that does address that the best I can. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right. And also, by the way, just some more details here. I am seeing people note that apparently all those strato tankers are still in the sky, apparently near the Persian Gulf right now on Flight Radar 24. It does appear to be the case. Right now, there appears to be at least 13 of those tankers active on Flight Radar 24. So they're staying in the air. So some people are starting to speculate that maybe they're staying in the air because the U.S. is about to launch fighter jets over there, and they want to keep those refuelers airborne for that reason. So that way they can launch attacks on Iran. So we'll have to see if it turns into that or not. It could possibly turn into it. I see some people saying that, so we'll have to see. Also, by the way, here's a big one. Apparently, Zelensky just landed in Bahrain for talks on security cooperation with the Gulf states. So that's kind of an interesting choice, by the way, because the war is about to pop off and the missiles are about to start flying all over the Middle East. And apparently, Zelensky just landed there. So, not that Zelensky's a stranger to war. His country literally is in a war 24/7. So I guess maybe he's gotten desensitized to it, but he literally just flew into a war zone. Again, I guess that's at this point, unfortunately, that's just kind of status quo for Zelensky. But he's there apparently trying to get some new deals signed with the Gulf states.
Man, that's crazy. Zelensky's like, home sweet home, with like the missiles flying over and the drones. He's like, it's a normal day for me. Who wants drones? Anyone want them? But that's interesting to hear. It looks like he's down there trying to make some deals. Making those big money deals for the Ukrainian war industry, so that way they can try and make some money on the side and then fund their own continuation of the war in Ukraine. So a little interesting with that one. That's pretty interesting to hear. But with that, it is time for us to move on into some Mo questions.
All right, so our next one goes to Joppy yet again. This was the $100 support from Joppy, and thank you very much for the support. They said, as a continuation of my last super chat, I just thought of something scary. Russia keeps quiet about their meat grinder, and they haven't hesitated to use foreigners, both forcibly and also tricking them. Since the U.S. knows it's a meat grinder, is it a ploy to trick foreigners?
I would say that most likely not, in my opinion. I also got to thank you massively for the support, Jobby. I don't think so, because generally we're just trying, like, as far as like the grander strategy of anything is concerned, we're just trying to achieve certain objectives. Most stuff like that is usually an unintended side effect or a consequence of some sort of external actions that we weren't able to directly control. So I would say that generally that probably isn't an intent of the United States. It's more so just an unintended side effect in the war in Ukraine and also possibly in the war in Iran. So humongous thanks to you for that support and help the channel to keep it running, Joppy. And I hope that does address that incredibly well, because we try our best to make sure that we can report the highest quality news here on the channel. And I hope that we've been able to meet that criteria again today. So a huge thanks to you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we're on to the next one.
Also, by the way, real quick, some news out of Russia just came out. That looks like the Russian cities, which usually hold like rallies, like I guess you could call them pep rallies, like right before the Victory Day parade on May the 9th in Moscow. It looks like they are canceling those rallies in Russian cities left and right. I see here that the most recent one is in the Tuapse area. I think you all might understand that Tuapse is currently under probably one of the biggest ecological disasters since Chernobyl. I know that was a nuclear disaster, by the way, but it turned into an ecological disaster once the radiation fell on the forests. But apparently, for some strange reason, there will not be a Victory Day rally in Tuapse. They say there's a lot of burning questions to answer about this. No pun intended. But So here's what it says. I have the Twitter post up on Twitter if you want to pull it up, by the way. They put out a post in Tuaps that said, "Happy upcoming holiday to everybody. Victory Day, that is. Unfortunately, we cannot hold the motor rally this year. We think that each of us understands the seriousness of this whole situation, and we accept it adequately. The community will not organize a motor rally in 2026, so keep your lattes in the garage." So they will not be having that, by the way. And at this point, the Victory Day parade itself is kind of up in jeopardy itself because, Russia is thinking that Ukraine's going to attack it. And at this point, I would say it has some credibility behind it. It looks like Ukraine might actually try to attack it. But Enforcer, what say you?
Dang, that's crazy right there. The Tor Bass Twaps. Oh yeah, I've never heard of an event or a community called that. But beyond that, interesting to see. I think that enough people are getting scared. I think they're just scared of the choking toxic smoke that's enveloped the city right now. I think that's their problem. But I think a lot of people are canceling it because of the fear that that might happen elsewhere in Russia.
Yeah, I mean, right now in Tuaps, it's literally like Cancer Alley right now in Tuaps. Raining oil, there's oil running through the streets like hot lava. I mean, it's like a death trap. It's like the freaking Hunger Games right now inside Tuaps. So even outside, I mean, the drone threat from Ukraine is probably Tuaps's least concern at this point. The disaster forming from that Tuaps oil hit, I mean, that's the bigger concern by far.
Yeah, I would definitely have to agree. It is a huge concern, and I gotta say, I feel so sorry for them. They started a whole invasion of another country, thinking it was going to be a cakewalk, and 4 years later, they're having to cancel their little motor rally. Tuash was actually one of the cities that was the biggest visual supporter of the war at the very beginning. They were having huge little rallies down there with the Russian flag, like the long ones that they have to unfurl and hundreds of people hold it from end to end. They were doing all that crap at the start of the war. Now they're having to cancel their little auto races. Isn't that just so sad?
Yeah, y'all should see the Russian auto races before the war started. I used to actually be kind of into that kind of thing. The stuff they come up with, the race is unbelievable. Like the best equivalent to it is like the demolition derby here in the United States. Like it's like these old jalopies and beaters that they bring out of the woodwork, and they put these like really lowered suspensions on them, and they're like Ladas that have like no suspension. They're loud as hell, like a Honda Civic at 2 a.m. in the morning. It's really a wild scene. They're obviously not racing Lamborghinis. Let's just put it that way. They're racing like Ladas and Civics and stuff like that. It was interesting though before the war started, but once that started, that came to a stop.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Isn't
Also,
it?
yeah, it is really interesting, honestly. I didn't really know that about the Russian racing scene. But one thing that I did know about Russia before this whole war, and this is something that I find very interesting, is that the Russian Federation was always a huge patriotic kind of a country, especially when it comes to the May 9th and Great Patriotic War side of things. It's a huge thing culturally for them, and it looks like, to be honest with y'all folks, but even before now with the whole toxic oil smoke thing over Tuaps, it was really starting to die off a good bit over the last few years because it just doesn't have the same kind of appeal to it when you're in a war and you're actively losing it. And this very same kind of a thing happened, actually, back in the very latter end of the war in Afghanistan for the Soviet Union. We started to see that a lot of those national holidays started to fade off in popularity a good bit, and they weren't really a big thing to the public. And then there was a resurgence after that, after Russia won the second war in Chechnya, and then also the war in Georgia, and then also did their Donbass deal. They were really big into patriotic fervor until the war in Ukraine, and now it's dissipating again. Maybe showing a little bit of a reoccurring trend socially in the Russian Federation. Maybe showing that when they start losing a war, not only do they lose their patriotic fervor, but maybe they lose a little bit of their fervor for the government that's in charge for, or has been for decades, maybe. But anyways, with that, we do have a lot more to cover here. A lot more to cover and a lot more to talk about. Matthew, what do we got?
All right, so jumping into our next super chat here, this one goes to T Diddy in the city. Thank you very much for that $100 support right there. Very interesting person running around the city. I thought he was supposed to be behind four walls, but I guess he's out. They said, I believe they are waiting for the U.S. to make a move. There is no way they are prepared to start an offensive.
And as far as who are they talking about? The Iranians, the Russians, the Chinese? Who are they talking about?
I think they're talking about the Iranians. They're saying that they believe that the Iranians are waiting for the U.S. to start a move or make a move against them because there's no way that Iran's ready for an offensive, they say. Although I would say they've already gone on the offensive. I mean, what we saw in the UAE, I would say that's an early form of Iranian offensive.
Yeah, I would have to say that that pretty much is the early start of the offensive. That was kind of what's getting me confused here, because it's like, well, they're already on the offensive, unfortunately. Conducting anti-ship missile attacks against U.S. vessels in the Gulf of Oman is, without a doubt, the beginning of an offensive action by the Iranians. So I would generally have to say I don't really think they're waiting on us to make the move anymore. I'd actually have to say that I was also incorrect on that last night, because I said the ball is in our court. They're probably not going to launch any sort of a preemptive attack. They did today, literally just a couple of hours later. So I was actually incorrect on that. So I would say that they're actually in the midst of launching their own little offensive right now. Because an offensive, when it comes to Iran, isn't, putting boots on the ground and marching as far as they can until they take some nation's capital. An offensive to them is just launching overwhelming missile and drone attacks on the on surrounding countries and attempting to basically bury them under the damage from those overwhelming attacks across the board. So I would generally say they're pretty much on their version of an offensive right now, especially against the United States and the UAE, and that's highly likely going to be spreading throughout the entirety of the region here incredibly soon. So I hope that has addressed that incredibly well, and a big thanks to you for support and helping this channel to keep on running, because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to make this channel possible, and we wouldn't be able to keep it running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
We also have a $100 support from none other than Steve Blanchard. And thank you, Steve, for that $100 support as well. Very generous of you as well. And I don't see a comment. It was just straight up raw support. But we do appreciate it nonetheless. That is what keeps our channel going day in and day out. And also funds the coffee fund that I will be cashing in on once again here very shortly to get another coffee going. I've rarely ever had to do 2 coffees in a row, but I think today might be the exception. Might have to get an extra one right there. I'm just waiting on those folks. I'm just waiting on any minute now to hear about the U.S. launching fighter jet strikes, and then we're going to be on here for like 4 or 5 more hours after that. Because I'm waiting on that. I'm waiting to see if it's going to happen. That's what we've been trying to see. If it happens later today, we might run a second stream if we stop this one and it doesn't happen immediately right now. We'll probably run another one later to cover it, because obviously that would be a big shift, because we're seeing a new offensive by the U.S. being conducted on Iran. But right now we haven't seen it yet, so we're waiting to see if that's going to be the case.
Yeah, we'll have to try and wait and see. Now, to be entirely honest with y'all, folks, it's probably going to be a second stream that started, because I'm not really a big fan, folks, of sitting around on air for like an hour and not saying anything, because that generally doesn't make for a good show. We try and make sure that whenever we're on air, there's basically nonstop of something going on, either videos or commentary or analysis or news coverage, stuff like that. And generally that would go against the framework of our show. So basically wind this whole thing down, sit around for an hour in almost dead silence, and then have something happen again. I find that to be bad content for the larger part. But anyways, with that, I hope that does address that well. And with that, we're on to the next one.
Also, by the way, I'm getting early reports right now of a major security situation near the White House right now. There's reports, and I'm waiting to verify these reports, by the way. I'll refrain from giving all the details right now until I get verification of this. But all I'll say right now is there is a very serious security situation outside of the White House. They've placed the White House on lockdown, and the press that had been gathered on the North Lawn and now been ushered into the press briefing room, and they're currently hunkering down. So something's going on outside the White House. We're not sure what it is right now. There are early reports of possible bad activities outside the White House, but I'll have to wait and see what this exactly is. It's being reported literally 50 seconds ago, so it's actively happening right this very second. They literally just ran into the press briefing room right now, so we'll have to see with that. Let me see here. I might have some more details for y'all real quick. So it looks like 2 different outlets are reporting this. So I'll just say take this with a grain of salt, but we're hearing allegations that shots have been fired outside of the White House complex, but we're not sure exactly how close it was in proximity to the White House or what it was. So we'll have to see with that. But in the meantime, though, while we wait for more breaking news on that, we will move on to our next super chat, which goes to Lieutenant Dan Hugh. And thank you very much, Dan, for that $50 support. And we do appreciate that very, very much. Excuse me for sniffling. Once again, I'm a sniffling machine. But Dan said, I have nothing to say. I just wanted to give you some cash. And thank you, by the way. He said, it's been a minute. I missed my dues this month.
Oh, there's no such thing as dues. We thank you incredibly for the support and helping the channel to keep running. People never have to support the channel, yet the people who do make this thing possible for everybody, and we're extremely appreciative of anyone supporting the channel in any amount, as frequently or as little as they want. We're just incredibly grateful that people enjoy the show and watch it and consider it to be their primary source of news. And a huge thanks to you so much once again for that. I hope that has addressed that incredibly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right. And also, by the way, getting some more details here. Apparently, the White House has been cordoned off, and there's reports coming in that apparently the gunfire that was being heard in the vicinity of the White House was apparently maybe a couple of blocks away. So it might have not been related to the White House, but they're taking the precaution of ushering everybody into the press briefing room and also putting the White House on lockdown, which of course is a sensible precaution because if you hear gunshots ringing out down the street, you probably don't want to hang out outside. It's probably not safe. So we'll have to see what's going on with that. But it could just be maybe some crime or some criminal activity going on down the street. Somebody might have gotten into an argument or something, possibly. We'll have to see what happened. But
Man,
anyways, though,
I know what happened. Several blocks away. Man, what's up? Man, I love chocolate with my eclairs. Man, baby, man, like it's like, and that's what happened. And then everybody went running, and the White House got locked down. It was a whole argument, folks, about chocolate eclairs and whether they were good or not. I'm very sure.
you never can tell these days. I mean, it's some crazy stuff happening. There was a major shooting last night in Oklahoma last night. I was getting updates on that from a viewer out there, and it was a wild scene with that, like the whole Oklahoma thing going on, like just absolutely wild. You got to be careful out in public these days. Like you really do. Like that's not fear mongering anymore. Like you really have to be careful because people are losing their minds, and people are also getting pushed to the limit to a certain degree with like the economic situation. And when the money starts getting messed up, people start getting wacko when that starts happening. So some people start getting on the fringe. So you got to be careful out in public.
Someone said in the chat, well, the hood's only a couple of blocks away from the White House. No, it isn't. Like, no, it isn't. Man, this whole place is nice. We've been here before in person. I like the hood is on up like kind of towards the National Cathedral sort of an area up here. Like this is where it starts getting real hood looking, but I haven't seen the hood like just a couple of blocks away. You would have to drive a couple of miles to get to the hood from the White House. Most of this is pretty nice federal office buildings and whatnot around here, or it looks, let me see here if I can show you. Maybe I'm wrong. Like, no, this is high end. Like,
Hell no.
Yeah.
Also, by the way, you know how much these things cost? These things are crazy expensive right here.
Like they cost an insane amount. Like Washington, like the Washington D.C. metro area, including everything in Virginia, is pretty expensive. We looked at living here before because we wanted to be close to our handle. I mean, we wanted to be close to our friends. And generally it was just too expensive to be able to get up here and live here. Also, by the way, we're just kidding, folks. It's a running joke that we work for the CIA. We don't work for the CIA.
Man, I got accused by like two different people yesterday. Someone said only abnormal people get popular on YouTube as podcasters. And I said, well, I mean, we're pretty normal. I mean, what do you mean? And he's like, you
Bro,
obviously work for the
yourself
CIA. He said, you obviously work for the CIA. And this guy was like, had a decent amount of followers on Twitter. I was like, huh. I said, well, that's weird. I said, we've never gotten a paycheck, so it sounds like a lousy job. He was like, I didn't say you get paid. I said, well, I mean, what are we doing it for free? It's like, what do you think, I'm a chump? It's like, come on. It's like, I don't do the unpaid internship junk. Like, I don't do that. Like, it's not my style right there. It's wild, though. Like, we get accused of being everything. People say, oh, these guys are clearly, like, they're the feds or something. They're CIA. It's like, I mean, it's like, why? It's like, hey, I'm just reporting the news the way I'm seeing it and also adding my own opinion to it right here. I mean, if the CIA likes it, great. I mean, we were cited in a book by a former CIA director, but that doesn't mean we're CIA. He might just admire the channel. It's like, come on.
By the way, folks, if you want to get that book, we don't make any commission fees off of it, but it's called Conflict, written by a former CIA director, David Petraeus. We're actually in the Ukraine war chapter of the book, which is really neat. So that was a really cool thing to be included in that. But outside of that, though, I mean, like, if y'all saw how it worked behind the sscenes on this channel, folks, you'll be like, yeah, there's no way in hell it's CIA. I mean, we literally just get together for like maybe 20 minutes before a show, and we're like, yeah, what do you think about this? Yeah. And then we talk about it a little bit, and then we're like, okay, well, let's go live. And then I do all the pre-show prep and stuff for a couple of hours, and Matthew's retweeting throughout the day. I mean, like, working for the CIA, I really wouldn't want to do that, to be honest with y'all, folks. I mean, I just don't really see the benefit in it. But And also, on top of that, if we weren't getting paid and we were working for the CIA, what type of job is that? And what kind of a schmuck would you be? Like, they gotta at least pay us if we're gonna work for them. I mean, like, we don't work for them, but if they wanted us to work for them, they're gonna have to pay me because I'm not doing it
They
for
can
free.
keep their money. They can keep their money. They can keep it right there. They can just have it. They can just have it.
Wait a minute, hang on, what's that? Someone's in my room. Oh, oh wow, dude! I just got a $10,000 stack of cash. We need to go to war with Iran. Like, but anyway, man, it's
You know,
funny.
the part is not funny about that is it's not the American intelligence doing it, but there is some foreign intelligence out there doing that to some people that are pretty large voices. That's not a joke in some cases. In some cases, it's legit.
Wait a minute, dude! Someone else just came in my room.
You have to make sure to tell them the right things.
Yes, sir. But anyways,
Yeah, we'll pass. Thanks, buddy.
aye, Captain. But anyways, with that, all jokes aside, just throwing out the corniest of jokes here at this point. But with that, it is time for us to get on into the next one.
Also, everybody's saying, of course, that's what a CIA person would say. I know it's like anytime we try to address that, it's like, oh look, see, they're getting defensive. It's like there's no way to combat that. So we just let the myth ride, let the myth ride. I mean, it can't hurt anything, can it? It's not like we have a choice. There's nothing we can say to do away with that myth right there. But anyways, jumping into our next one here, this one's going to go to Flying Fart of Freedom, and thank you very much, Flying Fart of Freedom, for that $100 support. We do appreciate that very, very much. It's very generous of you. They said, any news about the 7-Eleven casino wars lately? I almost forgot about that. On my way to Surin soon. Wife wants to see her family, but I'm a bit hesitant to bring the kids that close to a war zone that could flare up once again.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. And also, Mandy, where is that super chat in the spreadsheet? Because I'm trying to find it so I could read along there, and I don't see it.
It's at the bottom. It's at the bottom. I haven't had a chance to add it up to the top.
I was about to be like, I was like, where is it? I was looking at the top of the spreadsheet. I was like, where's he reading this from? But I haven't really been hearing a lot about the casino wars or the 7-Eleven wars lately. Those have actually died down for the larger part. The tensions are still high between Thailand and Cambodia, but I haven't really been seeing much more on it so far. And it looks like the current iteration of the ceasefire that they negotiated outside of the United States is actually holding, although it's very fragile, and I don't really think it's going to be holding forever. It's definitely going to collapse at some point in the future. It's just that we don't know when, and we don't know for how long the conflict will flare back up again and how bad it will become once the ceasefire is broken again. But definitely an unstable situation. As far as going over there, I would say this might be a little bit of an iffy take, so take this one with a grain of salt. It probably is okay, except for going towards the border regions, like the actual provinces of Sakau, Chantaburi, Shrat, Buriram, Surin, Sisaket, Aruba, and Ratchathani. Those are definitely not places that would be good to go, because whenever the war has broken out, most of the fighting is completely relegated to the near border region, meaning that if you're in a place like Bangkok, or you're in northeastern Thailand, or northwestern Thailand, or down here along the coastline on the isthmus, that generally is safe. We've never seen the war, well, any of the 7-Eleven and casino wars spread to there, and none of the strikes have ever occurred there. So it generally would be safe to go to Thailand as long as you avoid the border regions. But as I say that, make sure to always follow the Department of State's travel advisories, because it's their profession and job to make sure that they tell U.S. citizens where it is safe to go and where it's not safe to go. And they probably have a much more adept sort of a travel advisory and description of the kind of threats that are there, what to avoid, where is safe to go, and everything else more so than I could give. But a humongous thanks to you so much for the support. And I hope that if you do go over there, you have a fun time. And if you don't, that's a good, safe call to make. It's always better to be safer than sorry, is what we also say as well. So it's really up to you. But either way, as long as you play the cards well and play them safe, everything should end up being fine. But a big thanks to you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And also, I wish you all the best for Flying Far to Freedom. And so with that, we are on to the next one.
Also, by the way, just an update with the White House thing. It sounds like, based on what I'm seeing from a couple of different reports, that the all clear might have been given, but take that with a grain of salt, of course. But it sounds like it might be over with. So if that is the case, most likely it was somebody like a few blocks away, you know, possibly getting into some activities with somebody. Could have been nothing. It could have been somebody getting a hot temper, possibly down the street. You never can tell. But anyways, we also have some more details that apparently, according to what I'm reading here, there's been numerous reports from the ground of jets being spotted over central Iraq. So it sounds like maybe possibly some Israeli jets are making their way over Iraq, or maybe U.S. Fighter jets, one or the other. But people are hearing jets flying over Iraq right now, so they could be making their way over toward Iran. That could be what's happening right now. We'll have to wait and see, though. So that is the breaking news right this second. But moving into our next one here, this one's going to go to Chef Danny B. And thank you very much, Chef Danny, for that $50 support. Very generous of you as well. He said, "Good evening, enforcers. Chef Danny here. I just finished last night's stream, and I wasn't live with y'all, but big thank you for spending your well-deserved day off to keep us informed." And LLT, LSA.
And long live the Lee Spring Army and Chef Danny B. You and us were all very similar. We all work 7-day and 6-day weeks. Woohoo! We love them. We love them. Honestly though, I was really hoping to go hiking today. Like, I was really hoping to go hiking today, and I woke up, and as soon as I woke up, Matthew had texted me 5 minutes before that. He was like, "Dude, it's going down." And I went and looked on Twitter. I was like, "Oh God!" I was like, it really is going down. But it's better to be here and cover the news than not. It's just that I wish, in all honesty, folks, I wish they had waited until a Tuesday. Tuesdays I'm mentally ready to do this. Like, I'm gung-ho for it. Mondays though, I usually wake up and I'm like, "Oh boy, I can't wait to go out, like smell the flowers and walk the trails." And then it ended up being war today. So it is what it is. But beyond that, I do thank you so much for the support, and I gotta thank you for enjoying us spending our time covering the news every day, no matter what, because it is an absolute honor and an absolute pleasure to be able to cover the news for all of y'all and try and cover as much information as we can on the matter. So big thanks to you so much once again. I hope that does address that incredibly well. And with that, we're on to the next one.
We also have here a $50 support from SV Allegro. And thank you very much, SV, for that $50 support right there. We do appreciate it very much. Very generous of you, by the way. And I do not see a comment attached to it, but a huge shout out to you once again for helping to keep the channel running with that support. And Enforcer, what say you?
We got to thank you massively, Allegro, for helping this channel to keep running. You didn't throw in a comment, but we're greatly appreciative, and we thank you so much for helping this channel to keep on running. If it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to make this thing possible, and we wouldn't be able to keep the news rolling day in and day out, 6 and 7 days a week if necessary, to be able to make sure everybody knows what's going on around the world. And so a huge thanks to you so much once again. And with that, we are on to the next one.
We also have a 20 from Rotormax, and thank you, Rotormax, for that 20. He said, "Hey, Enforcer Matt, I just tuned in. Thanks for the overtime update. Here's something for the coffee fund. Costco San Francisco Bay French Roast. It packs a good wake-up punch."
That is... Rotormax, I gotta ask you, have you broken into my house sometime? Because that's literally what I got at Costco the last time I went there. No joke, I haven't opened it yet and tried it, but I actually did get that San Francisco Bay French roast because I looked at it and I was like, it's not like French roast from Starbucks, which is what I normally get, like the whole bean, but it's whole bean and it's French roast. So I was like, maybe it's good. So I got a pack of it, and then it's absolutely crazy that you bring that up. Like, I literally just got that like 5 days ago. But a huge thanks to you for the support and helping this channel to keep it running. And thank you for tuning in and enjoying this overtime update. We're trying our best here. We really are, and we're really proud to know that a lot of people have been enjoying it and supporting the channel so that way we can keep this kind of news coverage rolling every day. So a huge thanks to you once again. And with that, we are on to the next one.
Also, by the way, we do have some details more about the White House thing going on. Apparently, it was allegedly shots fired down the street, apparently near the Washington Monument, it sounds like, but the police have it under control. Whatever happened down there, it's ended for the most part, it sounds like. So it is what it is. Looks like there's a ton of police down there tending to whatever it was. So we'll have to find out. But anyway, so jumping into our next one, this one's going to go to T. Skolman. And thank you, T. Skolman, for the support. He said, "Enforcer Pizza Fun," and take one from the chat.
Hey, and thank you so much for the support to the Enforcer Pizza Fund. And Matthew, did you get a pizza the other day?
Yes, I did. I got a pizza the other day. I finished it off this morning for breakfast.
Well, what do you know? That is, I gotta say, pizza is something that's truly amazing. It's a food type that is a staple of mine because it's pretty affordable and it lasts a pretty good bit. And I gotta say, a big thanks to you for supporting the channel and the Enforcer Pizza Fund because you're helping us to keep fed and helping us to keep this thing rolling. So a huge thanks to you so much once again. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next one here goes to none other than Music Uploader, who puts in a 20. And thank you for that support. He said, "Port of Furira, interesting, LSA."
the port of Fujairah. Yeah, it's quite an interesting name. It kind of has a similar ring to Djibouti, in a sort of a sense. And so it always gets a laugh out of people whenever we mention it. Like whenever we're like down in Djibouti, everyone's like, ah, he said it, booty. And then that one, I can't say that one on YouTube, but a big thanks to you for the support and helping this channel to keep running. And with that, we're on to the next one.
We also have another one from Music Uploader, another 20, and they said a house divided against itself will fall, and that Iran won't disrupt its unity, no matter how much they hate each other.
Well, I mean,
Well,
well,
you never can tell. I mean, there's some things that transcend religion. There's some things that transcend government. There's some things that transcend a lot of stuff. And that's the human desire to gain as much power as possible if you have a certain personality. And some people will throw it all away for that power. They'll throw away their religious beliefs. They'll throw away their morals if they even had any in the first place. They'll throw it all away to get the power. They'll even throw people that they've known for ages under the bus to get that power. And I think there's some candidates for that inside of Iran. Despite what their religious extremism is with that type of stuff in the regime, they might decide, well, we can temporarily put that aside if it means, taking power. So I wouldn't count on it. But Enforcer, what say you?
Well, that would be an interesting idea, but unfortunately, the history of the region puts that one to rest because Iraq went to war with Iran, Iraq invaded Kuwait, Saudi Arabia went to war with Iraq because they invaded Kuwait. Then let me think of what else. Iran attacked every other Islamic country within the region, which generally was done just a few months ago. And also, not to speak of the endless civil wars in the region, like the Syrian Civil War, the Lebanese Civil War, the Yemeni Civil War, and many other fun wars that have been within this region in the past 40 years. Generally, religion, as far as it falls under the parameters of a government apparatus, is only used as a tool of power for the larger part, which is how we've seen it used here and over there for the years that we've been on air, to be able to try and get people who believe in that religion, who have good faith and goodwill in their belief, to follow along with them by kind of warping it or perverting it to a degree to make it sound like it fits their political aims and framework, which is what the Islamic regime does with Islam, is that they twist it a great deal to be able to make it fit their radical framework that they work off of, so that way they can justify what they do inside of their own country and what they do to everyone else in the region. So I would generally have to say, for the larger part, they will actually break that stability and attack each other if it becomes absolutely necessary. But they do have a concept of Islamic brotherly nations in the region, which does exist, but that has its limits. And we've seen that its limits have been tested and broken in the past few decades a good many of times. But a huge thanks to you so much once again. I hope that does address that incredibly well. And with that, we're on to the next one.
Also add some more details. This might be the final piece of detail we needed about the White House situation. So the shooting that happened down the street, apparently it was an officer-involved shooting. Apparently it was law enforcement doing the cap popping from the sounds of it. Apparently they popped somebody down the street. Unclear why they did that, but they're saying that U.S. Secret Service is now on the scene of an officer-involved shooting down the road in Washington, D.C. They said one individual was shot by law enforcement, and the condition's currently unknown, and they're currently trying to get a grip on what's happening down the street. So sound like somebody got popped by the police from the sounds of it. Not sure why though. But Enforcer, what say you?
I'm telling you, man, it was that chocolate eclair argument. I'm telling you, that's what it had to have been.
Yeah, who knows? Like, it sounds like maybe somebody might have tried to intimidate a police officer, do something sketchy with the police. Maybe that's maybe why they had to pop somebody.
Man, maybe. I mean, it might have been the case, but it appears that was more so just, kind of like a knee-jerk reaction by the White House because they heard shots were fired, and so they just shut down the whole area. But it looks like the situation was brought under control pretty quickly afterwards. So with that, I hope that does address that the best that we can, at least at the moment right now. And with that, it is time for us to move on and into the next one.
And our next one goes to SV Allegro. Once again, throws in another $50 support. And thank you very much, by the way, for that second support. They said, I understand that the U.S. Navy escaped 2 U.S. flagged ships through the strait. And are there more U.S. flagged ships stuck?
We actually don't know if they made it through because CENTCOM made that statement, but we've seen no ADS-B transponder data in the public that suggests the notion that two U.S. flagged merchant ships made it through the strait and have successfully escaped. And of course, I have to say, folks, that many people, I hate to say this, folks, but a lot of people with no critical thinking skills are about to go, "You hate America, you hate Americans." But the thing is, folks, is that CENTCOM has put out enough statements of its own over the past 2 months that have ended up being completely not true, that we can't take everything they say at face value anymore, and we generally have to have some sort of corroborating information to prove their statements for the most part. And we don't have that on this one. We didn't see any U.S. flagships heading towards the strait with their transponders on. We didn't see them go through with their transponders on, and we haven't seen them make it to the other side with their transponders on. So either these ships are absolute phantoms, or their transponders have been off continuously the whole time, which means that we can't confirm that that happened, unfortunately. So I would have to say that as far as answering your questions, Vallegro, there are more U.S. flagged ships that are stuck inside the Persian Gulf, but we don't know if any of them have made it out or if they'll have a chance of making it out, considering how the U.S. is now operating the whole passage through the strait side of things, which is where if a ship gets hit, we generally just act like it wasn't really a part of our whole operation, and it is what it is. So I hope that does address that the best I can, and a big thanks to you for support and helping this channel to keep on running, because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to make this channel possible, and we wouldn't be able to keep it running. And so with that, we are on to the next one.
We also have a $20 support from Truck and Travels, and thank you very much, good sir, for that support. He said, "Thank you for the breaking news, and thank you for always being here, and LSA forever, and coming to you 1 mile from Matamoros, Mexico, heading to Wilmington, Delaware, and take one from the chat if you're doing that today."
Hey, and we are always taking one from the chat, my Truck and Travels, and thank you so much for enjoying the breaking news. We're trying our best here to make sure that we can keep this news coming out, and I gotta say that Mondays are always rare for a live show to be run on, but this day definitely did deserve it. And I gotta thank you incredibly for the support and helping this channel to keep it running, because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to make this channel possible, and we wouldn't be able to keep it running. And so, a huge thanks to you so much once again, and also, I gotta say, I hope you have fun near Mexico, or in Mexico. But with that, we are going to get one from the chat. So, Matthew, what do we got?
And the one from the chat is going to go to none other than Ali, who said, "Doesn't the U.S. Navy have those underwater drones that they said were deployed in the strait a few weeks back?"
They do, but from what we know, it doesn't really look like those drones have the ability to demine. It looks like they have an ability to find the mines, but not actually lead them to being inert or being destroyed. At least that's our understanding at the moment of them. So, yeah, in a sense, yes, but did they clear out the minefield? Highly unlikely. And also, if they've been clearing it out for weeks, then how do we explain the Iranian swarm that just went back into that minefield 2 days ago and laid a whole new batch of mines, probably also including the area that we demined, and then that completely destroyed or completely backtracked any of our progress, and we're starting from square one as of 48 hours ago. So generally, we wouldn't know if those sorts of demining vehicles are being used right now, and also, we wouldn't know if they would have been effective at clearing out a path, considering that the Iranians just laid even more mines just 2 days ago. But a big thanks to you for support and helping this channel to keep it running, and I hope that does address that well. And with that, we're on to the next one.
And our next one is going to go to none other than Captain David, who puts in a 20. And thank you, Captain David, for that support. He said, "It looks like I was wrong yesterday when I said I'd have nothing to watch today. This message is brought to you by the Enforcer's Next Day crew, LSA, and love you guys."
Hey, the big thanks to you for support. And it looks like you were wrong. Luckily, though, there is actually a show for people to watch today.
That sounded wrong as hell. You're like, it looks like you were wrong. It's like, damn.
Yeah, but fortunately he was, because he has a show to watch. Hey, and also, like, I did come outside. It sounded so much better in my head. I was like, you were wrong. Like it's an excited thing, but then it came out like, you were wrong. It's like, hey, wait a minute. But beyond that, a big thanks to you for support. I hope you've been enjoying the show, and a big thanks to you for supporting it, so we can keep these shows running day in and day out. So a huge thanks to you so much once again. And with that, we are on to the next one.
We also have a 20 from Joppy, and thank you very much, Joppy, for that support. And Joppy said, "If the USA wants China to give up on Iran, I can imagine the U.S. is trying to negotiate for it, and I can imagine China is saying they'll only do it if the USA leaves East Asia for good, or at the very least, to not help Taiwan."
That could be a possibility, actually. The Chinese might say, oh, well, we'll help you with that if you don't sit around for this in the future later. But I have a feeling that probably wouldn't go anywhere because the U.S. would probably, waffle on that enough that the Chinese would rescind the offer after a certain period of time and then just forget about it. Also, I have a feeling that the Chinese probably wouldn't want to help because why would they want to help? They basically achieve by the continuation of the war with Iran, the effect of basically not having the U.S. there for Taiwan, because the U.S. expends all of its munitions and really abilities fighting the Iranians right now, then we're not really able to be there at all to help out Taiwan. So not only do they see that we end up being in a quagmire in the Middle East, we also end up being in a quagmire in the future with Taiwan when the Chinese start working towards their aims with that island. So a big thanks to you for support. I hope that it's addressed that well. And with that, we're on to the next one.
And our next super chat is going to go to none other than Kevin. And thank you very much, Kevin, for that 20. He said, so with everything going on in Iran as of today, does this mean that Alan's snack bar won't be reopening this summer?
Well, we actually have Ali Akbar running that snack bar now. Oh my god, I can't believe someone was actually named Ali Akbar. That's crazy. But beyond that, I would have to say, yeah, it won't be reopening this summer, sadly. Sadly, folks, Middle Eastern summer trips are going to be out of the picture for now. Very sorry to everyone. I know that many people wanted to go to the war-torn fringes of Iraq in the post-Civil War Syria, but sadly, folks, we're going to have to put those on hold because the whole war with Iran's going on still. But a big thanks to you so much once again. I hope that is addressed that well. And with that, we're on to the next one.
We also have a 20 from Captain David, and thank you very much, Captain David, for that 20. And once again, the second one, by the way, he said, I'm still holding on to my Enforcer stock. I hope it keeps going up. LLT, LSA.
Hey, and we're happy to hear that you're holding on to some Enforcer stock. I don't think we have any stock. The best thing we have is Nor Stockpot. But I got to thank you so much for the support and holding on to it because hopefully it will increase in value with each passing day. And the membership of the Lee Spring Army does grow with each passing day. We've made it almost to 600,000 subscribers here, and hopefully we'll be able to see that we make it even farther and even higher over the next coming days or weeks or months or years. But a huge thanks to you so much once again for the support. I hope that has addressed that incredibly well. And with that, we're on the next one.
We also have a 20 from GunFox61, and thank you very much, GunFox, for the 2 supports right here. And he has 2 days in history. He said 1429, Joan of Arc arrived at the siege of Orleans, marking a turning point in the 100 Years' War and boosting French morale against English forces. 1769, James Watt patent for a steam engine with a separate condenser. And also, question for the chat. He said, also remember, Matt, I will. Don't worry. He said, he also said 1864, the Battle of Gate Pa in his that in New Zealand saw 1,700 British troops suffer a significant defeat against 230 Maori warriors. The ones that go hi. But they said highlighting indigenous resistance during the New Zealand wars.
And I got to thank you incredibly for the support, GunFox61, and sharing some incredibly interesting days in history with us. Have y'all ever seen Old Orleans? Let me go show it to y'all. This is Old Orleans. Take a look at the pictures.
It looks like France.
Man, it does. I'm not gonna lie, folks. Kind of a hot take. Old Orleans looks better than New Orleans. I'm just gonna be kind of honest with that one. New Orleans, it doesn't really have that Orleans feel to it. Like this one. This one seems better. But beyond that, though, I do thank you for the support. And also, that's really cool to hear that James Watt patented the steam engine on this day in 1796. That would change the way the world works. That is why we live in the days we live in today, is because of James Watt's incredible invention of the reciprocal steam engine, if I'm not mistaken. But big thanks to you for the support and help this channel to keep it running. And also, the Battle of Gate Pa is a pretty interesting one. I do know a little bit about that. And I would have to also say that the Maori people have a very interesting and rich history on the island of New Zealand. And so a huge thanks to you.
You see them do that haka?
I saw that one lady do that in that parliament, and then kind of got overused, and now they do that every time they have an issue with anything, and now it's gotten old. But it is pretty cool though. As far as when the New Zealand football team does it, it's really cool.
Yeah, I think they overdid it in the parliament. I think they got sick of it because I think people were like, "Okay, that's enough of that shit." I think they were kind of like, "That's enough of that," and I think they made them stop it. Actually, I think they passed a rule to make them stop it. Which
Yeah.
honestly, after a while,
Because,
I can kind of understand that because you're kind of using it to disrupt at this point.
because it was like every single time an act was brought to table in the parliament and they didn't like it, like they'd be like, "Okay, everyone votes for yays," and then they do the votes for yays, votes for nays, and then as soon as it votes for nays, and then they'd all stand up, "Ooh, kaka chaka." It's like, okay, you got to stop, like, please. It's like it's been a year of this. You do this every time a law comes around that you don't like. You've got to stop. We beg of you. And so they banned it. But honestly, it is really cool. Like, I think it's like the haka is a really cool thing. It's just that I feel like nowadays it's kind of been like social media-fied, and now it's losing a lot of its specialness because everyone's doing it everywhere. And, it's kind of a lot with everything else. But anyways, a big thanks to you for support and helping this channel to keep running, and I hope that it was addressed that well. And with that, we're on to the next one.
All right, and also getting that live chat question in honor of Gun Fox, I did not forget it. We forgot it the last time.
Oh,
I'm not
yeah.
forgetting this time. And with this one goes to Justin from the live chat. He said the area near the missile launchers are near the Iranian coast, and maybe they want to try to hug the coast to get the ships by, perhaps.
Reread that one again?
That was deep. He said the area near the missile launchers are near the Iranian coast. Maybe they want to try to hug the coast to get the ships by. So what he's saying here is basically I think in his head he's thinking about, the arc that a missile has when it takes off. There's like a certain like minimum distance for a missile to hit something, and that he's trying to explain. And he's saying maybe going close to the coast will maybe be under that arc possibly.
You would have to be about less than a mile from the coast probably for that to work, because anti-ship missiles do have a minimum of effective range, but it's not that long. Like, they would be able to hit most ships. And also on top of that, if that was the plan, because there's always multiple layers to defenses, then they could just launch air-based drones at the ship, which would easily be able to hit it. Or they are so close within range of the coast that fast attack boats can literally swarm the ship, devastate it, and then board it and seize the ship and also take the crew as prisoners. So it would be, I guess, an idea if there wasn't multiple layers to the defense along the Iranian coast, but with everything else considered, it doesn't really pan out too well, because usually in a war we're not ever considering just one threat or one system, because there's always combined arms or combined forces that are being used in an area. So there's anti-ship missiles, anti-ship drone boats, anti-ship air launch drones, anti-ship ground launch drones. There's also the fast attack boats, there's the mines, there's a load of threats, and you have to be able to somehow consider all of them or find a way to work through all of them to be able to get a ship through. But a huge thanks to you for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one. And a huge shout out, by the way, to Gunfox61 for sponsoring out live chat and helping this channel to keep on running. And moving us on into our next one, we have a 20 from Wrath of Cat 2. And he said, "Hello, hello there. This is my first super chat. Oh, thank you so much." And he said, "Thank you for going live on your day off. I do not miss 70-hour work weeks. Work hard now so you can relax in your 30s and 40s. You all got to work out rotating vacation weeks so you don't burn out. Take care." And I got to thank you amazingly for the support, Wrath of Cat 2. And I got to say, 70-hour work weeks are fairly normal for both of us, actually, but I think I've gotten fairly used to it. It's just that it does get a little bit fatiguing sometimes because, of course, just working that many hours on anything would get tiresome, especially when you do it every week, every year, no matter what, like even through holidays and whatnot. But I actually enjoy the work a lot. I think that's what makes it a lot easier to do this and be resilient and not really have that much of an issue with it, because over the course of 4 years, we have only taken, in reality, one real vacation, and that vacation was to go ride the Coast Starlight train run by Amtrak along the west coast of the U.S. That's really the only time that we've ever actually taken a legitimate vacation. Every other time that we've taken time off the channel, it was due to work, or it was due to work or trying to find a new place to live or an emergency or something like that. And so generally, we actually haven't had a lot of vacations rather than that one. But I would like to be able to get a few more vacation days in a year rather than none. Because it would be nice to get to go around and do some things while I still have the youth and vigor that you don't have when you start to get older and you finally have the money and maybe the time, but then you don't have the energy to be able to go out around and really enjoy stuff. So we'll have to eventually figure that out. But we're of course, like, I gotta tell y'all folks, it's just impossible for us because of the algorithm of YouTube to ever do like a week vacation or anything. It would have to maybe be like 5 days at the max, including everything, getting there and getting back and having a show ready to run. That probably would be the maximum amount of time, because if the audience is fine with it, that's amazing, and I'm sure that many people are. But the problem is that YouTube isn't really fine with it, with how their algorithm works, because if you become really inconsistent like that over any significant period of time, they will start to kind of nick your channel a couple of points in the algorithm for doing that. Not that we've run into an issue with that, though, because sometimes because of emergencies and whatnot behind the scenes, we weren't able to run videos or streams for like a week or even a little bit longer than that, and we would come back and it would be fine. But we just don't want to risk that happening in some way, somehow, where the algorithm is like, oh, and then it just like throws us straight off the algorithm, and we end up going into oblivion. But a huge thanks to you for the support and helping this channel to keep it running, and I hope that does address that incredibly well. And I just got a text from Matthew that just said, ack.
Man, I tell you what, I got my second cup of coffee now, man. I'm set now. I'm good. Like the way that coffee hits, it's hitting different these days right here. I just drank the coffee straight out of the machine. I don't add anything to it. I just drank it straight out the machine.
Man, honestly, I just drink it straight black. I never put cream or sugar in it. I just drink it the way it comes out of the coffee machine.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Also, by the way, I do have some breaking news. By the way, are you ready to hear this?
The way you're phrasing this, it sounds like it's going to be mind-blowing or shocking or something. I'm getting kind of scared, but go ahead and hit us with it.
It's so apparently now we're hearing that Qatar and the UAE have now issued partial airspace closures. So you know what that means, folks. I think we know what that means. It's coming. It's coming soon. Iran's going to be launching some more attacks, and also that could mean that's preparations for an Iranian retaliation. Perhaps it could be a U.S.-Israeli response on Iran, causing Iran to retaliate once again on the Gulf states. That could be it. Whatever the case is, more hostilities are on the menu. There's one entree, there's one special, and it's fighting, and that's probably what we're about to get. It looks like so. It's going down.
Oh man. Well, it looks like we're going to be clocking long hours this week. Like, yeah, I think that's what's going to be in our future. Because it sounds like we're going to be running breaking news streams probably all day, every day of the week at this point. So make sure, folks, if you haven't already, if you're new to the channel, to subscribe, because we're going to be covering news like this just about every single day of the week now for who knows how long, because it is certainly going to be ramping up once more. So with that, we are on to the next one.
We also have a $15 support from Kenga, and thank you very much, Kenga, for that 15.
Hey!
They said fun time to be in the army. Yeah, it is. It's crazy. These days in the army, you get to go to concrete walls of barracks, and you get to get some chalk out and draw some SpongeBob memes about how many times you've been attacked left and right. But Enforcer, what say you?
Oh yeah, it's a great time to be in the army. A wonderful time to be in the army. I remember back in the day before they found out I was a cripple. They would be like, "Oh, you can join the army. You can see the world. Yeah, you get to see every single ready shelter that they've made in every part of the Middle East." I guess that kind of counts. Like, not really the most luxurious part of the world to see, but it is a part, I guess, and I suppose it does meet the counter for that one. But beyond that, though, I got to thank you for the support, Kanger, and I hope that you stay safe out there in the army. I hope you do, because you know what they always tell you: this is the army, Mr. Jones. No private rooms or telephones and all that stuff. But a huge thanks to you so much once again. I hope that does address that incredibly well. And with that, we're on to the next one.
Also, I don't know if y'all know this or not, but there was a lot more SpongeBob meme art on the wall from the U.S. military soldiers over there. There's a lot more than just that one picture. Like, that was the one that leaked out to the press, but they were drawing SpongeBob memes all over those walls of that base.
Man, and
like they were
smiling
going to
friends
town.
too.
Man, they literally had like the entire wall full of like SpongeBob memes. Like they were in there apparently for a long time in the shelters, just like drawing stuff on the wall from the looks of it. They were apparently in there, might have been for days, because I'm like, for them to be drawing all those memes, they must have been in there for a minute. And also that tells you the age of the soldiers. They're drawing SpongeBob memes. So they have to be between 18 and 25, somewhere in that range or somewhere like that. But anyways, though, our next one here goes to Hysterics, who puts in a 10. And thank you very much, Hysterics, for that support. They said, another early stream. Can't they give y'all a rest? Damn. Greetings from Arizona. LSA forever.
I would have to say they can't ever give us a rest. They always like to do this stuff right when we're either ending a stream or way when we're not supposed to be running a stream. But that is fine. That is fine because we're here for it. We're here for it, and we eat it up. We eat it up to make sure that we can report it to all of y'all, and all of y'all enjoy it greatly. It's a wonderful thing. It's a beneficial, mutual sort of a system here. But a big thanks to you so much for the support, and a big greetings to Arizona, the home of Arizona tea, which is 99 cents per can, or at least it should be. But beyond that, a humongous thanks to you so much once again, and long live the Lee Spring Army, and the Lee Spring Army will never truly die. And with that, we're on to the next one.
We also have a 10 from Cassadar, and thank you, Cassadar, as well. They said, switch it up and grab some guac and chips this time, gents. Thanks for being the only news. LSA SSG Airborne out.
You know, I've always enjoyed some guac and chips. I always liked it. And that's a good offer right there. You know what? We haven't had anyone support guac and chip funds before. But I do thank you so much for the support. And you know, last night, folks, last night after the stream, I sat down and I was hungry. I was real hungry. And you know, Matthew, you know what I got?
What?
I got birria tacos. You ever had those before?
I've heard of them. That's where they dip it in that sauce.
It was delicious, man. You should have had one. They were so good. I was like, wow. I was
Well,
like,
you didn't offer it.
Well, because you're like 20
You
minutes
say you
away.
should have had one. You never said, here, have one. You never said it.
What was I supposed to do? Shove the taco onto my computer screen and then have it appear on the other side through years? Like, what was I supposed to do? Like, we're 20 minutes away. Like, but man, you should get one is more so what I should say. That would be the proper way of saying that in English, because it was exceptionally good. Like, it was really good. I'll have to tell you where I got it from, so that way you can try and get it sometime. But it was great, folks. It was wonderful. It was amazing. I love Mexican food. Mexican food is really good. So a huge thanks to you so much for the support and help with this channel to keep it running, Cassadar. And a huge shout out to the LSA Staff Sergeant in the Airborne. And so with that, we're on to the next one.
Also, a little bit more breaking news, by the way. Apparently, apparently though, it looks like Iran has now ordered Hezbollah to increase the intensity of its attacks on the IDF forces in Lebanon and on the border, according to new IDF assessments, which seems to match up with what we've seen. By the way, I actually called this one 2 days ago because we've been seeing the IDF get hit left and right by a new form of warfare that Hezbollah is using, which is FPV drone warfare, which is what we've been seeing used in Ukraine and Russia for quite some time. So it seems to be that now that they've detected there's a weakness, now Hezbollah is going for that weakness. That was very predictable, to say the least. So now Iran is once again trying to ramp things up on Israel, despite there being a ceasefire that was supposed to be in effect for 3 weeks. It looks like it turned into like a 2-day ceasefire. It looks like pretty much non-existent. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would have to say it certainly does appear that whole deal is continuing to escalate, and a big thanks to you for sharing that update with us. I don't really know what to add to us. I mean, you cover us the bases. I will say, yeah, you know. But anyways, with that, we are on to the next one.
I could have sworn I heard a gunshot just then, but I don't know where that came from.
Oh, yeah,
but anyways,
things. Yeah, imagining things, oh boy. There's no gunshot.
No, I didn't imagine that. I heard something. Pop! I was like, dang, what the hell is that? I'm like, don't come for me. Hey, look, don't, not me, not me.
Listen here, old boy. The CENTCOM commander said that a US warship just spun by your block. I can promise you there's no gunshots. Everything's fine.
Man, I'll tell you what, don't swing by the block here. Like, you heard me. But anyways, though, going to our next one here. This one goes to Music Uploader, who puts in the 10. And thank you very much, Music Uploader, for that $10 support. They said it wasn't an embarrassment asking the enemy to fix our failures. He's dragging this nation name in the dirt. I don't know why. I don't know why they asked that. I'm like, yeah, they know the answer to that. They know the answer that, I mean, China is not going to fix our problems. I mean, why would they? I mean, China's goal is to try to weaken the United States. If they can try to help import drugs into the United States to try to cripple our society, they're going to do that. If they can try to fund like cartel forces on our border, they're going to do that. Anything they can possibly do to weaken us in any way possible, they're going to do it. So why would they suddenly, flip the script and start helping us to in the Strait of Hormuz? Obviously, they're not going to do that. So, Enforcer, what say you?
I would agree. They're never going to do that. It's a joke. It's a joke to go around and ask people stuff like that. And of course, whenever we say something like that, people in the chat, oh, this thing on the president, he's a genius. Or they say something like, hey, well, I mean, it's probably a big plan. And then they, like, explain this whole crazy plan of, like, how it makes China look good, and it makes us look good, and then it makes it make Iran look real bad. You know what it makes it really look like, folks? It makes us look like we're, like, idiots in this country, because it makes it look like our government doesn't even recognize who our enemies are, because we're going and asking them for help. It's like I gave some examples in the past. That would be like going into 1940, before the outbreak of World War II, and going, damn, we have a problem with the Panamanians, like FDR really did. And then calling up Germany, Nazi Germany, and being like, hey, could you come help us out with Panama? It's like, you don't do that. Like, you just don't do that. You don't ask enemies for help. They're not going to help you. If anything, they want you to roll over and die, like, as a country. So it's completely pointless to ask them for help. I don't know why in the world that was even done, because if we were going to ask anybody, you would ask the Europeans, or you would ask our allied nations in East Asia. You never ask our enemies directly for help. That looks ridiculous. It makes us look weak. And not only that, it makes us look like we're idiots and we don't even understand who our enemies are. But a big thanks to you for support and help with this channel to keep on running. And with that, we're on to the next one.
We also have a $20 support from Gary the Great. And thank you very much, Gary, for that 20. He said, hey there from the UK. It's not often that I catch a live stream before bed. Hopefully the US and any possible allies can set the straight soon.
I would hope that they eventually do. It would be to the benefit of everybody in the world if they did, and the only way they're going to be able to do that is through military action. I don't know why they're still hesitating on that at the moment, because they could just easily reopen the strait if they put some military action into it, and so far they're not. So a huge thanks to you for support and help with this channel to keep it running. I hope that does address that incredibly well, and with that, we are on to the next one.
So we're getting some more news, people, more news. Let me see if I can pull this up on my side screen over here so that way I can see it a little bit better, so I'm not having to turn my mouth and talk away from the microphone to get this out. Let's see here. So apparently, the Qatar, the UAE, and Oman have issued full and partial airspace closures following the regional escalation per the NOTAMs that have come out. So now it's all three of those. We're waiting to see if Bahrain's also going to include one as well. That's where Zelensky's at currently. He's in Bahrain. So we'll have to see if they add that to the list. Also, by the way, according to a new report that came out, US intelligence says that Iran's timeline to build a nuclear weapon remains unchanged, with weaponization estimated at 9 to 12 months. So that's the new report right there. It is what it is, because I could have sworn they said it was like 2 weeks until a nuclear breakout. Now they're saying 9 to 12 months, and they're saying it's unchanged. So I don't know. Like, it seems to change a little bit from time to time. It's that fluid guideline. But Enforcer, what say you?
Well, Matthew, obviously, it's that sliding scale. 2 weeks to some people is 9 to 12 months to others. So, you just got to take it for what it is. Are you trying to hate America, Matthew, by saying that? The discrepancy there? Do you hate America? Do you want this country to fall because you are pointing out discrepancies? What's wrong with you?
I love America personally. That's just me personally. But occasionally it's a little thing called, critical thinking, where you make the thinking a little bit more critical than just your topical average bear. So occasionally from time to time, I like to put my brain cells to use, and I like to notice discrepancies, like it goes from 2 weeks to 9 to 12 months and stuff like that. Things like that catches my attention. Average bear type mess.
I have found, folks, I think Matthew and me have both found through this war that there is sadly a small percentage of people in this country who lack any critical thinking skills. I think honestly, folks, I think if they tripped and fell and they like hit their head on something as they were falling, it would sound hollow if it hit anything, because some people just don't have any critical thinking skills. Like, they don't even listen to us say, we need to win. And like, we literally say that at the beginning of everything. We need to win and we need to do this now. So here's what we need to do, rather than what we're doing right now to make sure that we win and mitigate casualties and everything. And then at the end of it all, they'll sit there and go, you hate America. It's like, how the hell can you even get that out of what I just said? Like, those people, folks, are I would say some of the most destructive in the country. Because imagine if they were the people in charge and calling the shots in the U.S. Civil War, or in the First World War, or the Second World War, or any other war from then. They would sit there and call General McClellan, who was an absolute coward, a genius. And then if you went, hey, McClellan is a coward, he just literally retreated the whole Army of the Potomac out of its positions in Northern Virginia for no reason, because he was scared of the USS Virginia, or the CSS Virginia, they go, you hate America. It's like, no, the guy's a coward. We need someone better. We need better leaders like General Meade, or someone else at least, not this guy, and then you do that in the modern day, and it's like, what's going on here? Something needs to change, and we need action now. And we need action to benefit the country, because we can't stay here forever and keep losing the war every day forever. And then they take that as us hating America instead of looking out for their best interests.
But you know why that is, though. It's very simple. Some people equate America with the president. That's what they equate America as. So when they say you're hating America, they really mean you're hating the president. That's what they really mean by that. It's not really more about the country. Like the way I see countries, I see it as an entire big picture. There's the leadership, and then there's the people. The leadership, depending on the system of government in a country, is temporary, unless it's a dictatorship. That's the only exception. But like in America, we're a democracy. We change out presidents every 4 years. So the country is the people. That's when you refer to America, you're referring to America as a whole. All of our companies, all of our people, the families in it and stuff like that, plus the government, the leadership. It's not just the president. Like, the president doesn't represent the entirety of America, but statistically, less than half the country voted for him, or roughly half the country voted for him. So it's the rule of the majority. Whoever gets the most votes, or the most electoral college votes or whatever, they win the election. So that's not the way I see it. I don't see that whole situation as it's like equating it with the president.
Well, they maybe they equate it with the president, but still going from, they're criticizing the president and his cabinet's a way of executing the war that we supported in concept, and then equating that to hating America and wanting the country to fall, is a really huge jump in statement. Like, if they want to say you hate the president, that's like, well, we don't, but, he's definitely not making any good calls. I think that's pretty obvious at this point. Anyone who thinks otherwise is blind, or they're just so loyal they can't see the reality of the situation at this point. But moving from that to you hate America and you want America to be destroyed because you're saying there's going to be a needless loss of American lives with how the plan's being executed right now, and it needs to change to mitigate losses and improve the chances of success, and then saying that wants to destroy America. I mean, that's just asinine kind of statements. So I take them at face value. People say, you hate America. It's like, well, I guess they're assuming that I'm saying I hate the nation for some reason, which is really ridiculous, because their entire intro is literally homage to the nation, its armed forces, and everything else.
Yeah.
Which, we hate the country. Why the hell would I spend 10 grand to make that?
And so also, if we hated the country, why would we be so upset that bad decisions are being made? We would be cheering them on if we hated the country. We'd be like, yeah, that's right. Just let the Iranians control the strait and let that be the end of it. What's America doing trying to go in there and bust up the strait? It's like, we're advocating for them to open the strait, and we're criticizing what we feel is bad actions that are doing the complete opposite of opening the strait. And instead, it's worsening the situation. So if we hated it, why are we advocating for it to be open? We'd be advocating the opposite. It doesn't make any sense. That's why I ignore it. I don't get into all that, because it's basically people using the straw man argument. They're like, oh, you hate America, basically code word for you hate the politician that's currently in charge, and that's my guy, so I don't like you either.
Yeah, I mean, but, the critical thinking behind that kind of stuff is just ridiculous, because, some of those people actually, folks, have been around for a minute on the channel, and they heard, and it's so weird watching this, folks, because you don't really realize it until you're in a position where you talk unbiasedly and criticize both sides, and then you watch it at play. Those people were just eating this channel up in the last administration, because we'd sit there and go, why is, the last president slow walking support to Ukraine? Why is he being so weak on the U.S. position in the Middle East? It's basically the Wild West down there, and we're basically doing nothing. Why are we not committing to defending Taiwan? And they would go, yes, yes, this man really loves America. And then when the current president does a whole bunch of blunders as well, just like the last one, and we're like, why the hell is he doing this and that? Then oh, you hate America now. It's like, oh, come on, that's just absolutely goofy and stupid. It just the reason why I even mention it is because it just blows me away how simple-minded some people can be with that kind of stuff, instead of seeing the broader picture is that we're trying to look out for the best interest of the nation, which means that we can't have personal bias and be like, I just like this guy because he's funny or something, so we're just going to pretend like everything he does is good when it's not. But anyways, with that, we're on to the next one.
And our next super chat here is going to go to none other than Rye Guy SR, and he puts in a $20 support. And thank you very much, Rye Guy, for that support once again. He said, a bonus Monday stream. I love it. Crazy times we're living through, watching the U.S. kind of lose influence a bit in the world. And we are kind of sort of looking like a joke on the world stage with these policy decisions. But take one from the chat in LLT, LSA.
And a big thanks to you for support and helping this channel to keep on running. And I'd have to say that the U.S. certainly isn't doing a lot for its public image in the world with how we've been handling the war in Iran. Things have to be direct, straightforward, and largely cutthroat with how we execute them, and that's not really how we've been doing that lately. And I wish that that would change, and that they'd realize that it needs to change, because otherwise we're going to be losing a lot of face on the world stage, which is very important for us to be able to keep up effective deterrence against our adversaries. But a huge thanks to you for support and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we're on to the next one.
We also have here a question from, let's see here, Rye Guy 101 from the chat, so I'll grab one. This one goes to AF Kaplan. He said, how is it possible that this call was made by the U.S. Navy before the area was physically secured? Who authorized this?
And what part are they trying to speak of in question?
Let's see, this call. That's the part I was trying to figure out what he meant by this call.
Quarter call?
Say what?
Is that the quarter call?
What does that mean?
Like the quarter call where the companies put out like their profits and everything and all that.
Oh, you mean a quarterly earnings call?
Yeah, the quarter call.
It said the quarter call. I know ever calls it the quarter call. That's why I didn't know what you were talking about. I was like, the quarter call. I was like, what are they talking about? Like, is it like the quartermaster calling up? They lost like some uniforms or something. I'm not really sure what the call is right there. Maybe they're referring to the call as in like the U.S. government called out to like the ships in the area or something like that and said, hey, look, we cleared a path to start going through. Maybe that's it, possibly.
Maybe.
Man, were you even listening to me, man? I saw you in the chat over there.
No, I was listening to you. I'm just thinking, I'm like, I don't really know what the call is about. Like, even then, it's like, I'm not really sure if that's it. Unfortunately, I think we'd have to declare ignorance on that. If you want to clarify what the call is, please do, because I think we're kind of missing the context behind that, and then we can circle back and answer that once we get a good answer there. But a big thanks to you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we're on the next one.
We also have a 20 from Music Uploader, and thank you very much for that $20 support. He said, I think the problem is that some people fail to realize that foreign nations gave up years ago on directly trying to bring us down and have divided us and influenced universities, media, etc. to bring us down internally in LSA. Oh, absolutely. But we do that to other countries too, by the way. Like, it's not just a one-sided thing with that. I mean, people just don't fully understand the extent that other countries go to harm the United States. Like, a lot of the stuff with like fentanyl and drugs coming into the country right now and stuff, things like that. A lot of that stuff is actually being funded by China. They also produce the source components for it, and also, from what I've heard, they help supply the drug producers with those materials because they know that's going to further weaken American society with those drugs getting in our systems. So that's obviously one bad method. Also, obviously, subversion campaigns. We see that constantly these days. There's always people out there on social media now pushing CCP propaganda. They're pushing Russian propaganda. Some of them are doing it just because they're naive, and some of them are getting paid by these foreign governments to do it. So that's a big problem too. Also, there's actual operatives coming over here. They'll come over here as foreign exchange students, and they'll conduct, espionage while they're over here. They'll also gain knowledge and then take it back to China. They'll do IP theft and stuff like that. I mean, it's constant, nonstop. China's number one, Russia's number two, and there's several others behind that. But Enforcer, what say you?
Yeah, it's definitely something that they've been doing for a while now, for years, and we've tried to point out. It's pointless though to point it out because like right now, just bringing up what we brought up, people who want to bring up a million domestic political points. Oh, what about the fascists or the Marxists or whatever? But the people don't realize that most of the time, like if you follow the money trails, there's a decent amount of right wing stuff that you can trace back to some form of Russian funding, and there's a lot of left wing stuff that you can trace back to some form of communist Chinese funding that gets their messaging out. And they realize how polarizing that stuff is. And it's like crack to the US public ideologically. They can't have enough of it. So Russia keeps spurning the country down one path, which leads to authoritarian fascism, and the Chinese and the other part of the country down a path that leads to authoritarianism, communism. And then both sides want to say, well, it's the other side that's truly evil because they're trying to bring in authoritarianism with a communist flavor, so we need to beat them by bringing in fascism with more so authoritarianism with a fascist flavor instead, so that we can beat them to the punch. And it's ridiculous to watch that happen because when you sit back like we do and you don't take a political side, you can just watch that going on, and you can watch how much one side's influenced by the Russians and how much one side's influenced by the communist Chinese, and know that both of them are racing to the bottom to rip the country apart and basically win the victory from within for our enemies, and none of those people realize it at all. And when you even bring this up, and here I'll bet you all money it's going to be coming up in the chat. Just watch, folks. You're going to see someone come in. Well, yeah, but those stupid right-wing fascists or those wicked democrat leftists who are Marxist communists, and they don't even see what they're doing, and they're winning the war for the enemy on the home front without even knowing it. The both of them are. And it's just so sad to watch that because they should be looking out for America's interest, which is the unified interest of the people from the countrysides, the cities, the people who are Christians, who aren't, the people who are Muslims, the people who are Jews, anyone who is an American citizen, they should be looking out for them regardless of who they are. And yet they all select who is truly an American, who's the enemy within, and they all act like they have to crush the other half of the country, which is just plunging us closer and closer to instability and civil war here on the home front, and winning the day for the Russians and the Chinese, and they didn't even have to fire a single shot directly at us to try and win that war. It's a tragedy.
But the catch is, here's the crazy part. Some of these people, and it's not just one political party, they each have this extremist wing of each side. Like the extremist wing. On the right wing side, there's like this, like, y'all know back in the day with Germany, what Germany was doing and stuff like that. They kind of they like that kind of stuff, like on the very extreme wing of that side. And then on the other side, on the left side, then you have people that are like genuine, like hardcore Marxist type people that want to bring back communism, like on the really far left side of things. Like far left or far right of anything is that's a rough spot. Like that's like the fringe lunatics, like on the far right of anything or the far left of anything. It's insanity on both of them.
Yeah, but because of social media, those people are the ones who have the loudest megaphones, and then everybody's gravitating towards them instead of staying in the middle on real American values, which do lean left and right. And domestically, to be honest with y'all, there is no answer. Like, most domestic political topics are ones of moral concern. And as far as morality goes, I hate to tell it to y'all, there is no such thing as black and white, right and wrong when it comes to morality. It is whatever the holder of that moral concept thinks it is. That's why we don't get into domestic politics, because there's no clear fact to be had of this thing produces good and this thing produces bad. Most domestic political topics are a double-edged sword. It's good and bad no matter which way you go. But outside of that, these people, because of social media and the rise of extremism and the rise of promoting extremist voices on both ends, in the modern political discourse, you only get people who are on the farthest to the right, which are basically fascist, or you get the ones on the left that are so far left, they're basically Marxist communists. And that's the only options that you get these days. It is because of the Chinese and the Russians. Because if you ever look, folks, like if you ever pay attention to a little boiling up that comes every once in a while from the truth, you'll eventually hear that some certain movements on the left get some funding from China. and then some certain people who talk about things on the right get their funding from Russia. And it kind of bubbles up to the surface every once in a while, that whole fact, and then it just gets buried below the discourse again, and everybody forgets about that and doesn't even realize that the nation is being poisoned by the words and beliefs of our enemies who are trying to poison the minds of good-willed Americans to turn them against each other and try and destroy this country from within. And if people would stop looking at it as, oh, those damn leftists or those damn right-wing fascists, if they'd stop looking at it like that and look at it as all Americans working towards a common goal and a common interest and not listening to the poison of our enemies, this country would be far better to stand for it than worse. But people will never drop those concepts because nowadays people have been so brainwashed with it. I'm already seeing people in the chat come in here right now going, well, those damn Marxists and those damn fascists. And it's like, you know, like I don't even know what to do about it anymore because reason doesn't win with those people. They're already lost. They drink the Kool-Aid,
Right.
and I've never seen anyone come out of it for the most part.
Forget all the Marxists and forget all the fascists. Like, go get a job application. It's like, go get a job. It's like if you're sitting around talking about you want to bring back communism, it's like, well, go get a job first.
Or they want to
do
bring a
something
dictatorship
productive.
around.
Yeah, it's like, how about you just go and like live your life normal and stuff like that and try to like just have a normal life? It's like, how about that instead, all this insanity and stuff like that? It's like our country works fine as long as people just generally just, calm the hell down, stop trying to villainize each other and stuff like that, and realize that our enemies will always be external. It'll always be that way. Foreign countries are always trying to take down each other, and it's a brutal situation. It's literally survival of the fittest in the geopolitical sense. But we don't want to turn our country into survival of the fittest. We don't want to do that. But anyways, though, moving into our next super chat, this one goes to Chad Shepard. And thank you very much, Chad, for that $20 support. He said
Hey!
almost all of the helicopters over here are being retrofitted with booms. I'm seeing more every day over here.
That's interesting to hear, Chad. That's interesting to hear. Refueling booms, I suppose. But I did look into the helicopters because we had that whole discussion of the helicopters at the start. I looked into them on the side, and it looks like the Seahawk. I couldn't find any variant of the MH-60 that had a refueling boom. Maybe they are adding them. But I think that will cause some issues for clearances for storage on board ship because those booms take up a lot of space. And to show y'all here's an MH-60. These are operated by the U.S. Army and specifically the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment. And these have the refueling boom, but that's because they're a U.S. Army helicopter, so space isn't really a premium. On a Seahawk, however, there isn't really a way to put a refueling boom on it because it would start to take up a lot of room when you try and stow the helicopter. Because there's really, I don't think they've come up with a way yet to make the refueling boom, I guess you could say foldable, where it has like a hinge on it to where you can fold it back, like say the helicopter propellers or the wings on board of a fixed wing aircraft, and that would start to cause some issues on fitting them below deck once you try and stow them. So I don't know of any of these to have refueling booms, but I have been hearing that the Army is trying to refit some more of their helicopters with aerial refueling booms, which is probably just an attempt to try and increase the range and capabilities of their older helicopter airframes that will remain in service through the years as they're replaced slowly by the Belle of Valor and other variants of new helicopters that will be coming into the service. So big thanks to you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep them running. And I'll be very interested to see some of those so we can get some pictures of them. And also, by the way, I clicked on this picture just to show you this really quickly. This MH-60 Seahawk right here is equipped with pylons that can carry Hellfire missiles. And according to the reports that came out earlier this morning from CENTCOM, they claimed that we had destroyed the fast attack boats with Apaches and Seahawks. Which I've got to say, folks, for a lot of people that have been saying, because Matthew, actually Matthew's got breaking news coming out right now. So Matthew, what do we got?
Okay, so we have a little bit of breaking news right now. We're getting word that apparently, according to Israel, the Ben Gurion airport is now on high alert in preparation for a closure of Israeli airspace and an evacuation of the aircraft there. So that just came out right now. So that's in addition to the airspace closures over Qatar, the UAE, and also Oman as well. So pretty big signs that something is coming. At this point, I'm leaning toward the idea that this is preparation for an Iranian retaliation after the U.S. attacks Iran in retaliation for what happened at Fujairah in the UAE. That's my guess. But it sounds like pretty much every country in the region right now is getting ready for some Iranian attacks. But Enforcer, what say you?
Certainly sounds like they are, and I would have a feeling that they probably all know it's obvious that it's coming because I think what you and I both know, we're about to be running another breaking news stream either later today or sometime tomorrow because they probably will be launching major attacks of that type at some point here in the future. So I hope that does address that well. And getting us on back into this brief rabbit hole for a minute, last night on air when we were talking about how in the world the fast attack boats could be destroyed, some people were bringing up A-10 Warthogs, some other people were bringing up other forms of ideas, and I said, why not just send out an Apache to go and hit them? An Apache can carry 16 Hellfires and knock out these boats pretty easy. We've already seen them knock out something similar with the cartel boats down in the Caribbean, and they quite literally sent out an Apache and apparently a Seahawk or a couple of them to go out there and fire Hellfires off of the boats, which means that apparently CENTCOM had the same idea I did on dealing with the boats, which is just sending a helicopter to hover over the northern part of Oman and just start popping shots off at them from a good distance. But with that, I hope that does address that the best we can. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right. And also, by the way, we have approximately 30 super chats left. It might be wise to keep up a decent pace with these right here, so that way we can end the stream in a reasonable time, because we'll probably be running another one later, is my guess. So we need to have time to be able to go, get chores done and stuff like that throughout the day. But this next one here, though, goes to Music Uploader, who puts in a 10. And they said, what an embarrassment asking an enemy to fix the failure. And also, I think I read that one already. But thank you very much once again, Music Uploader, for that support. We also have a 10 from Mark Dixon and The Grant. And thank you both, Mark and The Grant, for that support, and we do appreciate that. We also have a 10 from Light, who said, getting ahead of the busy night ahead for you guys. More coffees may be needed, but you also may need to refresh your Cuba history soon, too, if this wraps up. And LSA from Dallas.
Hey, and a big thanks to your support and helping this channel to keep it running. And thank you for the coffee fund. And also, I will have to make sure to brush up on my Cuba history, which I was actually doing last night by reading about the Spanish-American War. But a huge thanks to you for the support and helping this channel to keep it running. And with that, we're on to the next one.
We also have a 10 from Hugh Crumman, and thank you, Hugh, for that support. He said, just chipping in for the great coverage, and could be a long one tonight.
Could be. We might be live again later tonight. We'll have to see. But honestly, folks, I'm kind of hoping that we're not, so that we can kind of have a little bit of a break, because I know that this is about to be nonstop, probably for weeks again. And we always got to try. We got to try and do as much as we can, but we also got to try and pace ourselves, because it's never a sprint. It's always a marathon. But a huge thanks to you.
No breaks. No breaks.
This is Sapon Navy. No breaks. No breaks. But anyways, with that, we're on to the next one.
We also have a 10 from Rye Guy SR. He said, sad day when you can't take the statements from CENTCOM at face value. A few bucks for the bean juice, and take one from the chat.
And a big thanks to you for the support, Rye Guy SR. And thank you so much for the coffee fund. And we will take one from the chat. So what do we got, Matthew?
And we have none left from the chat right now. So sadly, we won't be able to grab one from the chat because we are fresh out. We didn't have a whole bunch of live chats come in so far. So sadly, I am out.
I mean, heavens, I thank you for the support, right, guy SR. Sadly, we're actually fresh out of live chats, but I actually just went and looked at the spreadsheet. We legitimately are fresh out of them, and so I was like, damn.
Oh, you think I was lying?
No, I didn't think you were lying. I was just kind of shocked that that was the case. I was like, wait a minute, we're out of live chats, and I went up there and looked. I was like, oh my god, we are. But a huge thanks to you for support and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we're on to the next one.
We also have a 5 from Kanga once again. He said, hello, LSA, and greetings from Poland.
And a big hello to Poland. Cool country, by the way. We love Poland. Poland is a neat place. And a big thanks to you for support and helping the channel to keep on running. And with that, we're on to the next one.
And a big shout out to Craig Humphreys. You put in a $10 super chat, and thank you very much, Craig, for that support. No comment to address, but we do appreciate that. We also have a 5 from Itnin, who said, Slava Ukraine and LSA.
And Slava Ukraine, and long live the Lee Spring Army. And with that, we're on to the next one.
We also have a 5 from Stephen Aggie, who said, we live in a simulation, LOL. Well, you start simulating it a little bit better, then start rendering in the geopolitics with a little bit more clarity. But Forster, what say you?
If we live in a simulation, then they fail in the test of whatever the simulation is supposed to be running on. Everybody is, across the board, everywhere in the world. But a big thanks to you so much once again for the support. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we're on to the next one.
Man, they needed to simulate a little sanity, I think. Maybe to put in a little sanity.exe and start running that in the simulation. But anyways, though, our next one goes to C146, who puts in a 10. He said, take money. I'm drunk sitting in sun on day off. That doesn't sound too bad.
Hey, that's actually kind of luxurious sounding. I would be I don't drink, but this whole deal with what we're having to cover, it might maybe pick up drinking someday as a hobby. But big thanks to you so much for the support. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we're on the next one.
We also have a 5 from Joppy, who said to lift the mood a bit, Russia knew that drone was the leader, which is why they sent a chopper after it. If we take it down, they all go down.
Maybe, Joppy, maybe. That's an idea. And a big thanks to you for the support. And with that, we're on to the next one.
We also have a 5 from Jenkins, who said Mario or Sonic.
Oh, I go with Mario. Mario's relatable. An Italian plumber. That's a very relatable sort of a thing there. But a big thanks to you for support. I hope that has addressed that well. And with that, we're on to the next one.
We also have a 10 from JMP Traveler, who said maybe you can do a QTR review video preloaded into YouTube's live videos. Each day it's a new video about a different conflict, Russia, Ukraine, Venezuela, Iran, etc. to get time off.
That's an idea, but sadly those don't really work algorithmically because our where we sit in the algorithm, we sit in kind of like a breaking news niche in the YouTube algorithm, so it has to be about something breaking. And if we make videos like that, they're on generalized topics, so they're not breaking news, they fall within another category in the algorithm, and then YouTube doesn't like those, and they're like, and then they try and discourage you from making them really. But a big thanks to you for support. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we're on to the next one.
And our next one goes to Game Theory, who puts in a 5. They said no alcohol. Soon with the Skywalker OG.
That's deep. I thank you for the support. We're on to the next one.
We also have a 10 from Oli Oli Oli. He said every time I drink the night before and have a hangover, the Iranian war picks up again. Sorry, y'all.
Could you please stop? Could you please stop then? We just want this thing. We just want this thing to conclude successfully so we can go home. I'm just playing with you, but a big thanks to you for support. And with that, we're on to the next one.
And we also have a 5 from Game Theory. And thank you, Game Theory, for that support. He said, why no sponsors on the channel? Seems like you're the only guys that watch that aren't trying to hawk a product.
Sometimes people sit there and they get real down about that whole thing. And back in the day, historically, there used to not be a lot of doctors, and you were largely on your own. Not until recently. Now bringing you our sponsor. but anyways, all jokes aside, I don't really like sponsors, me personally. Maddie doesn't either. But I'm really big against them. I feel like it kind of cheapens the whole image of the live stream, especially to basically be like, okay, so this many people have died, and we'll joke about that kind of stuff because we have to kind of keep it light because it's hard for people to bear if we don't. But I really don't like the idea of going, okay, everybody, now that we've gotten done watching people get blown to bits in the middle of a war, now we have tonight's sponsor, Phoebe, who's going to tell you all about something, and it's like, I don't really like that, and honestly, it's kind of over-monetizing things too much, in my opinion, and so that's why we never really do it, is because, to me, personally, it looks really tacky. And also, on top of that, they have a whole bunch of requirements as well about what you can and can't say, because they don't want their brand affiliated with this, but they want it affiliated with that, so then we have a whole bunch of censors on what we can and can't say. And usually most of the time they're really picky about what they want, and then we end up losing our upload window because their marketing manager will always be like, I want a couple of changes to your ad. It's like, why? Why? People are going to skip this thing anyways. It's I don't get it. And all that stuff. It just gets really annoying and it's really tacky looking. So me personally, I'm just not a big fan of it. But a big thanks to you for support and helping this channel to keep it running. And with that, we're on the next one.
So apparently right now there's apparently some press briefing or something going on at the White House. It looks like the president's out here speaking. He just brought out the Pawn Stars to go speak right now at the podium.
The who?
That show, the Pawn Star, not the other thing. I'm talking about that reality TV show that was out there where the dude was negotiating at the pawn shop. Not the other thing. He wasn't bringing out the past specters. He was just bringing out the Pawn Stars.
Is that you?
He's bringing out the dude. I don't know his name right off the bat, but he brought him out to make a few comments right here. Also, by the way, everybody's misinterpreting that. It's a reality TV show. That's what that is right there. It's made that perfectly clear. I think that was the point of the name of the show, was to make it sound like a play on that. I think that was the point of it. But no, it's the Pawn Stars. That's what it is. Everybody's misinterpreting the hell out of that. We're going to move on. This one goes to C146, who puts in a 5. He said, I use FIBID MPH every day. What do you mean? I love to hear him shout it out.
I suppose that you love to hear him shout it out. I don't know what. That's a play on the words that I was doing right there. But a big thanks to your support. And with that, we're on the next one.
We also have here a 20 from Ross Nib, and thank you very much, Ross, for that support. And he said, good evening and morning, fellas, and thanks for working on your only day off in LLT LSA.
And long live the Lee Spring Army, and a humongous thanks to you for support, Ross, and helping this channel to keep on running, because folks like you do help us to keep working on our day off. So huge thanks to you so much once again. I hope that does just that well. And with that, we're on to the next one.
We also have here a super chat from Smarzig, who put in a 5. And Smarzig said, second time I randomly check my phone in an odd time of the day, and you guys are live.
And I got to say, it is really something else that we've been live so often lately. It's honestly kind of crazy, really, when you think about it. But a huge thanks to you for the support and helping the channel to keep on running. And also, before we move on, I just saw David Boy say, I enjoyed Pawn Stars, even though it was scripted. The stuff they brought in was interesting. I'm not going to lie, I really didn't like it after a while, because every single thing would go like this. Someone would come in and be like, I have brought, like, let's see, what would it be? It would be something crazy. I just brought the Ark of the Covenant in, like the real one. If you touch it, you drop dead. Like, it's actually, like, blessed. And then the dude, like, the main dude would be like, oh, really? Oh, well, I don't know. It's got, like, a couple of scratches in it, and you know, let me call in an expert. And then they, like, call in some expert, and he come, like, swanking in, and then you stand by it. Yeah, that's the real Ark of the Covenant. This thing's, like, priceless. It'd be worth, like, hundreds of millions, billions even. You know, so yeah, that's the real deal. And then he'd be like, oh, okay, thank you. So then that guy would leave, and then at the end of it all, the dude would just be like, all right, so, look, I have a low budget. I'll give you, like, $20 in a sandwich for that. And then there would almost never be, like, an agreement for it. Like, I didn't like the show because everything ended up like that.
Yeah, I don't like those reality TV shows like that. They're all kind of a little cringy. Like all of them. Like, you know, there's also that I don't know what it is, well, like naming stuff after the whole like lewd references, but there's hardcore pawn as well. Like there's that one as well. I'm not even making this up. Like there's actually a show called
hardcore pawn, down and dirty.
Bro, I'm not even making it up. Honestly, bro, it's debaucherous to call stuff that. Really, like, the references are hard. Like really, if you think about it. But that's a real name of a show, by the way. I'm not just making that up. But that one was also cringy as hell as well.
Next thing you know, man, they're gonna make a documentary show about building car engines. They're gonna call it Getting Shafted or something like that. It's gonna be like a pun on the crankshaft or something. It's gonna be like heinous.
Bro, that's awful the way they come up with these things. Real horrible, like the way they name these shows right here. But anyways, though, moving on from that, moving into our next super chat. This one goes to Music Uploader once again, who put in a 10. He said, at 28 with 2 kids and a trucking company on the verge of bankruptcy, I still have hope for my generation listening to you guys, and keep it up in LSA.
And thank you so much for having some hope. We're glad to keep hope out there for everybody. And again, thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we're on to the next one.
And we also have here a support from none other than Oli 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 once again. And they said, don't get hooked on drinking. It sucks. And try something else.
Oh, I'm just being sarcastic. Me personally, I'm a milk and water kind of a guy. You know, maybe every once in a while a swig here and there, strawberry breeze, 24 ounce. But generally, I'm more of a water and milk kind of a person. I'm not one for drinking or smoking or doing really any recreational kind of drugs. I just don't really get the appeal of them. I got better things to do in my free time, folks, than getting plastered. But big thanks to you for the support and for this channel to keep running. And with that, we're on to the next one.
We also have a 5 from Blaze Gamer who said, sounds like someone's breaking in. It's just breaking news. Sit down.
Sounds like someone's breaking in. It's just Enforcer Matt with the news. Sit down. But big things here, so and over this channel to keep on running. I'm giving myself a real hoot tonight, folks. A real hoot. But with that, we're on to the next one.
And our next one goes to Flippin' Ain't Easy, who puts in the 5 and said, have you considered the information we have is much different than what the president has, and thus the actions are very different as a result, and thanks. And not by much, not by much. There's of course, you know, very minute operational details. That's what the classified stuff is, and that's what the president has access to. But here's the catch-all. This is what proves that point wrong. Is the strait open? No, it's not. Is there any hope on the horizon of the strait being open? Not really. So that tells us pretty much everything we need to know. But Enforcer, what say you?
Here's my question for that. Because everybody always acts like the president's like a god and we just cannot even fathom what he knows or what he thinks and what he does. How come we were able to do that on Ukraine for 4 years, which is in a life or death struggle, and therefore things ought to be a lot more unpredictable from them going off of that metric, because they have to be unpredictable so that way they can just survive the mighty Russians who are invading their country. Yet for 4 years, we've been able to predict with great certainty off of their statements what they're about to do and they do it, and it ends up going pretty well for them. And that's my question. Like everybody keeps going, oh, the president, he's like an omnipotent being. We clearly cannot comprehend on his level. But the thing is that we can, because we see exactly what they're seeing. And if there was some sort of super secret thing that he was working with, and he just knew way more than us and it was going a totally different way, then how come he said just 5 days ago that the talks with Iran were going really well and the strait was going to be reopened and they love us and they're begging for it to be open and everything militarily of theirs has been destroyed? And yet today, they attack our ship, showing that their military hasn't been completely destroyed. The strait isn't open. They're not negotiating. And everything they said 5 days ago was completely untrue today. Whose benefit was that for? It certainly wasn't to throw them off, because they're clearly working on the same mindset they've been working off of the whole time, and nothing he said has thrown them off. So he's just saying this stuff to try and fool you and the public, but he's not saying this with any intent of actually changing the situation overseas, because it doesn't matter how many times he basically comes up with flat out misstatements. It's not changing anything, and he's just misleading people in the public to think that's going good when it's not. So, that would be my answer to it. If nobody else in the world has to do this to be able to succeed in winning a war, why in the world is he doing it? And that would show that that isn't needed to win a war. He's just doing it because he doesn't even know what he's doing every day. But a big thanks to your support and help with this channel to keep on running. And with that, we're on to the next one.
Also, we have here a super chat from none other than Scott Baldwin. And thank you very much, Scott, for that support. He said, didn't Russia say a few days ago that they would attack anyone that attacks Iran? Is it saber rattling or a legit threat?
I would say that it's probably a saber rattling. The Russians are never going to get involved. They don't have an ability to power project down there, much less actually fight if they made it down there. So I hope that does address that the best I can, and a big thanks to you for support and help with this channel to keep on running. And before we move on to the next one, someone just said, "You shut up, you idiot." Man, they just got him. I got to get this one, though. This one was good. You idiots barely have any clue what's going on. None of you hosts served in the military, so you don't know jack shit about technology and tactics. If I'm not mistaken, the president didn't either. So, where in the world is he getting all of this knowledge from? Did he go from running like a golf course in a casino to running the military secretly for like 10 years or something? Are we missing something there? Or am I mistaken? And also, didn't the last president not go, serve in the military either, yet he was the commander-in-chief and made all of the military decision for 4 years? Doesn't really stand up that well when you put it that way. I gotta feed them every once in a while, man, because some of them it's just like low-hanging fruit. The comments are so stupid and ignorant. I mean, it's just like easy pickings, really. But anyways,
I figured that out for sure. But our next one here goes to C146, who puts in a 5, and they said, when the whole stream is old-timey reporter, we know you hit the bottle.
Well, I never hit the bottle, actually. I just act like that on my own, because I'm filled generally with a good bit of energy when I'm running the show, and also I like to try and make things a little bit fun for people. So you gotta work things up a little bit and joke them up instead of just acting soulless and depressed like most people do to make it fun. Otherwise, it's not fun. If I sat here like I normally do, and well, not normally. If I sat here like I do when I'm just like tired and I talked in a very boring way, it wouldn't be interesting to listen to. But a big thanks to you for support and help this channel to keep on running. And with that, we're on to the next one.
We also have a 5 from Craig Humphreys, and thank you, Craig, once again for that support. We also have a 3 from Butchie777, and thank you very much, Butchie, as well for that support. A big shout out to Salt and also Ronald of Radenberg, who each put in a 2, and we do appreciate that very, very much. We also have a 5 from Wow, who said, am I allowed to ask for a word of appreciation for the crew chiefs working 12 hours a day, 7 days a week on the jets?
Of course, and we appreciate all of the service members of the armed forces. And many people misunderstand that. When we diss on what the military is doing, we're not dissing on those rank and file officers on those ships and the enlisted sailors on the ships as well. We're more so dissing on the civilian leadership, like say the Secretary of Defense and the President, for handling this at the grand strategy level so poorly and demanding things that apparently make no sense. Because that's really the only place I could see the point of the fault that's happening with this whole thing. Because any military leadership that had been trained properly and had any sort of a good understanding, which we would assume is a given for a general or an admiral in the military, there are so many blunders that are being made here that are amateur level blunders that there's no way they could be making them, and there's no way any of the officers or the enlisted people out there in the ranks could be making them, because that's not their call. That would have to be the call of someone in the civilian administration that wouldn't know any better, which would only be the Secretary of Defense or the President, who were involved in calling these shots directly. So I hope that does address it the best I can, and a big thanks to you for support and help this channel to keep on running. And with that, we're on to the next one.
We also have a $2 support from LSA MA2, who said, just because.
And thank you so much for the support, Just Cause, because it helps us to keep this channel running, Just Cause. And so with that, we're on to the next one.
We also have a 2 from Talon, who said, so much for the day off, but glad y'all are here.
And I got to say, thank you so much for being glad we're here. We're happy to be here, and we're happy to have covered the news so far for 160,000 people. And with that, we're on to the next one.
And also a big shout out to Bradley Barrows, who put in a 5. He said, the first day of my staycation and y'all's day off, and here we are, sigh.
Yeah, I suppose. Kind of a little bit of an odd occurrence there. But a big thanks to you so much for the support and help this channel to keep on running. And with that, we're on to the next one.
We also have a 5 from C146W. He said, I am C146W. I'm paying for those syllables, please. I was paying for this mic. He said, I mean, if you do a whole stream, it's the old-timey reporter.
Oh, okay, that would make sense. I don't think I would ever do a whole stream in a voice, because the voices are funny in like little snippets, but doing it for a whole show would probably get very tiring for most people, so we'd never do that. But, you know, if I ever did, you might be able to know that I'm hitting the juice. Big thanks to your support, and with that, we're on the next one.
We also have a 2 from Grip Van Winkle. They said, for worms to go fish. Thank you, from a retired tech.
Thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we're on to the next one.
Also, a big shout out to Solar Independent Utility Systems. They said, from me, and we appreciate that from you as well, by the way, and thank you very much for it. We also have a 2 from Justin, as well as a 2 from Blockbuster, Plazoth, and Bernard Siegel, and thank you all very much for that support. There was no comments to address, but we do appreciate that, of course. We also have a 2 from Martin, who said, hi from Aberdeen, Scotland. Love you guys, and LSA rules.
Oh, and a big hello to Aberdeen in Scotland. What a cool place. It's a really cool one. Take a look at it, folks. The beauty of it all. It's a great place, Aberdeen, Scotland. Really, Britain is a beautiful country. Y'all ought to take a visit there sometime. Very nice place. Very enjoyable. The last few times I went there, I personally had a blast. But a huge thanks to you for support, and a big shout out once again to all of our British viewers. We appreciate them greatly. And with that, we're on to the next one.
We also have a 5 from Hughes Lammy, and thank you very much, Hughes Lammy, for that support. They said, what would be the contribution from Canada against the attack on NATO? Good training, but equipment lagging. Only F-18 and some armors.
Well, I mean, generally, their contribution would be the armed forces that they have, and I mean, F-18s are pretty decent. You know, like, they're not bad aircraft. The Kuwaitis used one to great effect to shoot down 3 F-15s. And that says enough of a marketing pitch about them if I've ever seen it. But also, the Canadian Armed Forces aren't large, but they're well trained and well equipped for their size and their capabilities. So they'd be able to offer a good bid for their size. They're a pack-a-punch kind of an army. But a big thanks to you for support and helping this channel to keep it running, and I hope that does address that well. And with that, we're on to the next one.
Also, a big shout out to Jason Curling, who put in a 2 and said thanks for the early stream. And thank you, Jason, for being here as well and supporting the channel. We also have a 2 from Oli Oli Oli, who said, do y'all have a Discord? And we don't have a channel Discord. There are a couple of fan Discord servers out there that we don't run. And there is one in the live chat. I think it's called LSA World News is one of them, by the way. And a couple of the viewers in the chat run that one. So that is the Discord, not necessarily an official Discord, but it's a fan server Discord on the channel.
Yeah, we do have a couple of them. That one, the last time I went into that one, they were, I think, codifying the big booty worm or something like that into the channel history, I believe. So, you know, kind of a moment that really could, you know, remain not in channel history. But, you know, outside of that, it was pretty funny. It was hilarious. Yeah, I was dying laughing at that thing. I couldn't believe that someone found a picture of it and put it up in the server. But beyond that, the fan Discords are pretty good. Generally, LSA World News is the one that I believe Matthew and me are both in. I think one of the only ones that we're in, but there are a couple out there. It's just that we don't run any directly, because running them directly has run with a great deal of misfortune when we had two of them way back at the very beginning of the channel. And after the failure of those two, I just decided personally that we were never going to run one again. And Matthew was a big proponent of that. And I was like, yeah, I totally agree. We should never run one again as a direct enforcer thing. And so we'll never have one again like that. But big thanks to you for support. I hope that has addressed that well. And with that, it is time for us to move on into the live chat questions. Due to time constraints, because this stream is now 3.5 hours long, and we might have to go live at any minute again after this and run a whole other stream, we're only going to be able to get 3 live chat questions. And, well, actually, we don't have any more, do we?
We have one more.
Oh, well, we are going to be getting to the one live chat question that we have, and then we're going to be rounding out the stream for the moment, and we'll see if we have to run one later today or if we have to run a breaking news one tomorrow. But, Matthew, what do we got? Who is the lucky last person who put in the lucky last question of this stream?
And that viewer is going to be Prairie House. And they said, here's a live chat. For real, though, why will the USA not go on 100% and stop toying around with the Iranian regime? It makes no sense.
It doesn't really make sense to us either. We don't know why. I think it's just indecisiveness and ignorance or just incompetence. I'm not really sure which it is, but it might be a combination of those three. But I can't really tell you why that we're not doing that. There's no external pressure that could be applied to us by the Chinese or the Russians that would be significant enough or threatening enough to stop us from connecting to those military operations. So I have no clue. But beyond that, I do thank you so much for a great question there to round out our stream. And I'm going to thank you all so much for watching once again. We have run another 3.5 hour breaking news stream in the middle of Monday with a peak viewership of 18.6 thousand people and a total viewership of 160,000. I thank you all so much once again for watching. It's been an absolute honor and a pleasure to be able to cover this news for all of y'all once again here on this breaking news stream. And we will be seeing y'all all here probably soon, maybe later tonight, maybe in the middle of the day tomorrow, or at 10 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow. We're not really sure how things are going to be going from here. It certainly appears that things are heating up, and the Enforcer HQ will once again be on high alert for any moment when the news breaks for us to be able to be live on air and covering it immediately. So a humongous thanks to all of y'all so much once again for watching, and we will see you all at some point here in the very near future. And with that, good night, good afternoon, good luck, take care, stay safe, Slava Ukraini, long live the Lee Spring Army, and long live the Republic.
And we will be on a high alert throughout the rest of the day, because at this point, it's pretty much guaranteed that something's going to happen. We're just not sure when. It could be later this evening. It could be in 30 minutes. It's hard to tell. So we'll be on the lookout, though, in the meantime. In the meantime, though, we gotta get refreshed. We got to get ready for that, because I tell you what, we could be on the air tonight. There's no telling. We probably will be, knowing how it works. But if not, though, we'll see you all tomorrow. But we most likely will see you maybe later this evening. We'll have to see, though. But whatever breaking news happens, though, we will be here to cover it. So be looking out for that stream when it comes around. But thank you all once again for joining us. Middle of the day right now, very unusual time for us, and we already had over 160-something thousand people here, which is quite wild to see. But we'll see you all in the next one, and of course, Slava Ukraine, here on Slava, get some rest, and we'll see you later possibly. But with that, we'll see you. Good evening, I guess. Good night, good evening. We'll see you.
On